You are listening to Zen and the Art of Triathlon.
Well, hey there, all you triathlon freaks and geeks. This is Brett Blankner with another great episode of Zen and the Art of Triathlon. Hey, on this show, we have the full Ironman Texas review, and also I'm going to start covering the Tao Te Ching, which is an epic Zen story. Set of poems, lessons, I'm not sure what it is. It's just amazing. And we're going to start covering that over the next few series of shows, a few episodes, and it's going to be a lot of fun, so I encourage you to go check that out. And yeah, the Ironman Texas review, last year, I think it was a 5-hour episode, but we had interviews mixed in and race audio and all that stuff last year. And this year, we're just going to cover it just straight up, how the race went, with lots of tips and good stuff in there for you to use for either Ironman Texas or your next race, long distance or short. Just tons of good stuff in there. But before we do anything else, let's go ahead and start with the triathlon news. Here we go. All right, first up, in world drama, Challenge Oman has been canceled. Boo! The problem is there's warring going on in the region, and it's a little bit too close to Oman, and I'm actually pretty bummed about this because when I looked into the race, I found out that there is a part of Oman that is absolutely gorgeous and rugged. It was going to be one tough race. And this was part of the Triple Crown series, where 3 races in a row in that area, if you won all 3, you were going to win $1 million, both male and female, I think was the cash prize. So I think they're looking into moving the race around to another location that isn't quite so, I guess, sketchy is a word, or just people feel more comfortable going there. And Oman itself seems to be fine. It's just it's too close to places where there's civil unrest. And let's see, also there is an Ironman coaching program now. So Ironman has started up something where you can go get certified as a coach. The downside is it seems a little bit sketchy, kind of like Oman's neighbors, where the you can get certified as a coach with only 14 hours of training, and that's not all that hot. The USAT training that I went to many years ago was, I think it was 3 days long, 8 hours a day, and then you had to do a whole bunch of work and send in all your finished work to get approved later. And it was actually, even though it was kind of short, it wasn't that short, and you had to prove your stuff. But a lot of people, maybe a third of the people in that training coaching program weren't even triathletes. They were coaches in other sports, other things, like say spin cycling or a track coach or something like that. And they just kept getting people asking them if they could coach them in triathlons. And since UAT puts on the clinic, they went to go get USAT triathlon coach certified. That way they could say they at least understood the sport somewhat. So Ironman putting this on seems like a way for them to kind of cash in a little bit on, hey, you want to sign up for an Ironman? By the way, here's some people that are certified coaches, and you have to pay, I don't know, it was like $700 or something like that to get certified. And then apparently you could get a whole bunch of clients because Ironman will point them your way. So it's just an interesting business model going on there. But always look for a coach that has a lot of experience in the thing that you want to do. And I would say my number one tip for picking out a coach is not certifications whatsoever. It's nice, but the thing is you find out how they coach. Do they coach through the internet only? Do they coach in person? How often do they update their training plans? What coaching platform do they use? What do they require out of you? And like how often do they communicate and how? And you want to make them inspirational to you. Somebody that'll be like, that the fact that they're coaching you gets you like super motivated to go out and train and to do things right. And they should easily be able to answer those questions. And if they don't give the right answer, like you like somebody that sends you an email every couple of days about analyzing, how you're doing. That may be that the coach that you're interested in may not do that, and you need to move on to another coach. There's a coach out there somewhere that does that. Anyway, there's all that. And then also there's a really cool podcast interview out there that I think if you're not aware of and you're a fan of this kind of stuff, that you ought to check out. Mark Maron, who's huge in podcasting, he's one of the earliest podcasters, interviewed Terry Gross. And Terry Gross has been doing interviews since the 1970s, I think. And it's Terry Gross has interviewed everybody that's been anybody. Johnny Cash. It just goes on and on and on, who she's interviewed. And it's just a fantastic back and forth with them. And the most amazing soundbite that I got out of the entire episode was Terry said, the quote was something along the lines of, she loves her job because she gets people to share things about themselves that might be helpful to others. And I thought, that is exactly why I do this podcast. If I had to put it down to a sentence and summarize it, this show is not about me. It's not really about triathlon. It's about bettering everybody, all of us, and the sport by talking about how I'm doing what I'm doing, and also to get pros and experts in the field on the show to talk about what they're doing, because if they share a little bit about how they're doing it, then it'll make your life easier. And then in the end, we have more people doing this and more people familiar with it. And when you grow the community and get more awareness of how and what's going on, then it becomes easier for everybody. It becomes easier for me to go out and train and have fun and raise my family in a healthy environment, and it becomes easier for you, and it just becomes easier for everybody. Like, imagine becoming a cyclist. How much easier it is to be a good, happy, healthy cyclist or healthy eater or whatever in a town that's full of cyclists, right? Or healthy eaters. And then imagine how difficult it is in a place where there aren't any, or much fewer. And how by spreading the word and making everything easier by sharing tips on how you get stuff done, grows the community, makes life easier for everybody. It's really cool. So go check that out. Again, Mark Maron and Terry Gross. I think the interview aired either direction. Mark Maron's podcast has the bigger volume of it because they curse some, and he can do that on the podcast. And on NPR, Terry Gross aired the interview as well. It was pretty cool. All right. We got a news flash. I was just wrapping up recording this podcast when the news came across the wire. Ironman 70.3, which is half Ironman championships in 2017, are going to be held in the United States. And they are trying to pick between 3 different race sites, Chattanooga, Lake Placid, and what's the other one? St. George, I think, in Utah, are the 3 candidates. But the really interesting thing is that they're going to do males on one day and females on the next, pro and age group. So let's say, for example, male pro male pros go first on Saturday morning, and then male age groupers, and then that's your day. And then on Sunday, you can have female pros and female age groupers go. And that's really, really interesting. And something like 4,500 athletes are predicted to be in this race, these races. I don't know. Anyway, but that news just popped up on the wire, and I thought I'd share that with you. All right, back to the podcast. All right, that is enough of the news. Let's go ahead and get started with the Ironman Texas race review. Here we go. All right, let's start off with the days before and a little bit of a summary, so I can give you just a brief synopsis of what we're getting into here. So Ironman Texas, full Ironman, brutally hot. People have said after the race, I keep coming across in race reports, many people that have been to Kona saying it was hotter and more humid and harder temperature-wise than Kona itself, which is legendary for being brutal, hotter, more terrible than Cancun, Brazil, like all this stuff. I don't know. I've never done any of those races, but it sure made me feel better, and that's what I'm all about. So the other thing is, it's a full Ironman. It's in Texas. It's just as the temperatures start getting brutally, brutally hot, and it's right on the cusp of that. So you really don't get any heat training here because it's not hot yet, and then all of a sudden it's hot, and then they do the race. So you don't have like a month of heat training or 2 months of it. You just kind of, over a week, it turns brutally hot, and then they hold the race. And they're looking at changing. It's supposed to move up the calendar to earlier in the year over the next couple of years or so. I don't know how much that's really going to help. Okay. And then for my race result, basically everything went great up until about halfway through the run, where it just got too hot, and I ended up having to walk a significant portion of the run, like around half of the run. But it was the latter half, and up until then, it looked like I was probably going to come in under 11 hours, which would have been a PR. And then the heat got to me, and I had to walk, and then I ended up doing just under 13 hours. So it added a couple of hours of walking in there. I'm very, very happy with my result, actually. People would think, oh man, you're doing all this stuff with Tawny's show, and you're trying to go sub 10 and all this stuff. The fact is still, even though I wanted to quit halfway through that run, I almost did. I wanted to quit, and it was terrible out there, and you're miserable. I changed my mindset at some point during that and said, man, you finish an Ironman, you're still an Ironman. It's still badass just to finish an Ironman. And just under 13 hours is still a respectable time considering the heat. And this is Ironman number 14 for me. And there's a lot to be said for, volume of doing these and a lifestyle. And and then the thing is that within a day, I was back on my feet and not even sore, really, not all that much. And the Ironman basically didn't affect me physically, like all that much at all, which means I'm in super duper happy, healthy shape. And that's really the whole point of you can have two different points to endurance sports. Is either to win everything and be the fastest in the world, or a happy, healthy lifestyle that makes you fitter. They're kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum. If you try to race and win everything, then you can really just cook your body and kind of fry yourself and then get burned out and then never want to do this stuff ever again. But if you do a more long-term approach, it's okay to not have a great race result, but and then you look at the bigger picture, like how healthy are you, and how much did the Ironman affect you is a really good indicator of that. And it barely affected me at all. So I was like, wow, that's pretty nice. So I'm actually really, really happy that I knocked out an Ironman, and I'm fine. That's hard to do, and and I'm cool with that. I'm totally, totally cool with that. So let's start up with a few days before the race. 2 days before the race, I went to the Woodlands and logged in, whatever you want to call it, signed in, and then I went over to the Starkey show, which was being recorded in a bike shop just east of the finish area, and that was super cool because I got to meet a whole bunch of people and was actually on the air quite a bit. There's some podcasting and video out there of me doing my stuff. Somebody suggested to somebody else that, man, that ZenTri guy, he should get a show. And my friend was like, he does have one, you dummy. Anyway, a highlight was seeing Lionel Sanders. I'd never met him before. Big Sexy McDonald was there, and the guy that owns Ventum Bikes, or I guess he's a co-owner or something like that. That was pretty cool. And after that, I went over to the All-World Athlete meeting, and I saw Jordan Rapp there, and Bob Babbitt, and Dave Scott. I went and got Dave Scott a glass of water, and then when I came back, other people were talking to him, and I've talked to Dave Scott before, so I was like, whatever. I was just going to say hi, and I didn't really have much else. And then also I talked to Andrew Messick for a couple of minutes, and I was in the middle of, I thought was a nice conversation with him, and then he just turned away from me and said, I got to go, like that. And I was like, what in the world is that about? And I still haven't figured out what that was about. He realized he was talking to a podcast and wanted to, maybe there was somebody behind me like doing the cut across the throat sign, like, don't talk to the press. And I was talking to him about the swim start, and I actually liked the rolling swim start idea, and I was excited to be doing that on Saturday when the race started, and that's when he ended the conversation, so I have no idea why he bailed. But anyway, then on Friday, I went back home Thursday night, and then Friday morning finished packing up my stuff and then drove with Kai back to the race location, to the Woodlands. I live about an hour and 15, kind of depends traffic, away. And we finally got our hotel, and Emily got there, and we were in our hotel all of a few minutes, and we were going to put some leftover food in the fridge, and we realized there's no fridge. And then a little while later, we realized there was no microwave. we called the front desk, and we go, hey, we got a problem here. And they switched us out. Thank God. But here's your first tip of the race. Do not get a hotel room. Make sure that when you get your hotel room that it's got a fridge and a microwave in it. It was an extra $5, I think, to get that. But man, we're lucky that they had an extra room to do that. And then also I've talked about on the air with Tawny on the ZenDurance stuff that we're doing on Endurance Planet, that I just felt like I wasn't that into the race this year, and I wouldn't have known it except there was little indicators here and there, and they were, to me, the letting things slide until the last moment, which shows that you don't care quite as much as you should. So, for example, this year's race, I have some more examples coming up, but the reason this podcast is going to be so much shorter is I didn't record any race audio. I was more into just relaxing and not being everywhere all the time and trying to get interviews with people and stuff like that. I felt like I'd done plenty of that, and I didn't have the energy or the interest to be doing all that this time around, and that's really weird. And I was like, okay, that's a sign that, and also it's not that I'm burned out. It's more like a couple of months ago, I decided I needed to back off of trying to do too much, and this was more in a continuation of my current habit of saying, you know what, let's dial it down a little bit to get more rest and everything. Because actually, I've been resting and recovering well before this race came up, and I think that's one of the reasons that the race didn't bother me so much, is because I was well rested going into it, and this was all kind of the pattern, the habit of kind of just being more relaxed going into the race. Okay, and also I've done the race. This will be the 5th time that I've done the race, so I wasn't, there wasn't anything really new or amazing to go out there and discover. They did change the run course a little bit. I mean, that was it. That was the only thing different. And it was just they removed one leg and added another on an out and back. Okay, a cool thing the day before the race is on the pro rack, we saw Andreas Raylert rack his bike. He rides a Cube bike, and that was super cool. I told Kai, I go, that guy right there has the record for the world's fastest Ironman. Right there, that guy. And Kai, he's 10 years old. He's looking over the fence, and he's like, ooh, wow, that is so cool. So that was really neat. So thank you, pros, for being there so people can check you out. I went and had dinner the night before the race with people that I coach and families, and saw just a whole bunch of people out there. Did Italian food and spaghetti with red sauce and marinara sauce, whatever, and bread rolls. There was a place that had bread rolls with no butter on them already, and that was perfect, absolutely perfect. Then went back to the hotel room and boxed everything up, put it in the fridge, and went to bed. Actually pretty early, and I actually had a list of things I wanted to do that night, and then never got around to them and fell asleep. Which that never getting around to it is interesting as well. And then morning of the race, here's my notes. For Ironman Texas, if you're in a hotel somewhere in the neighborhood, I got up around 3:30. And I've got it in my notes so I can remember it for next time, what time worked to get up. And I ate some breakfast. Breakfast was bagel, pretzels, coconut milk, power bars, applesauce, coffee. And the applesauce and coffee is to kind of make you poop so that your guts aren't full going into the race. And I couldn't make myself poop. And that was a little bit disconcerting, which I think didn't help my run later in the day. But, I was like, well, don't stress about it. You did what you could. Maybe you don't have any poop in you. Anyway, and then then I made a bottle up of UCAN with some Gatorade and Hornet juice until the race start, and sip on that if you ever get hungry or whatever until the race start. And we hopped in the car and then drove over there, and I was going to start recording in the car to say, all right, we're on the race scene and we got everybody in the car and we're driving to the Ironman race start. How's everybody doing? That's when I was actually going to start recording race audio, but it never happened because immediately Emily and I had the phone in my hand about ready to record, and then Emily and I started arguing, and it just set a bad mood for the recording. And I told her to go down this boulevard and then do a U-turn, and then she totally just kept going and refused to do the U-turn even though she totally could have. And I'm like, oh great, now I'm dealing with a rogue driver, a rogue volunteer that's going to do what she thinks what she thinks should be done, and instead of me telling her what to do. And it pissed me off. I'm like, you got to do what I say this morning until I get into the water. Just do what I say instead of what you want to do. And so because I need your help, right? And it makes me race better if I know that you're on board with doing what I need to do. All you got to do for the next, like I told her, like all you got to do for the next hour is say, oh, okay, I'll do that. And what do you need now? Like that. And then just try to do whatever I do. But now we got a rogue agent out here that's like, you don't want to do this. You need to do this. And I'm like, oh crap. And so it set off this bad mood because we're arguing over this. And then we started arguing over which street to take to get to the parking garage. And it would have just made a terrible recording. And Kai's in the back seat like going, geez, you people, I thought we were supposed to be having fun. This is a race. And yeah, so that was getting to the race site. And then everything was fine after that. But that was our opportunity to record. Actually, everything was great after that. Like 10 minutes of arguing. And then, let's see, some tips First, here's another tip. Don't argue on the way to the race course. I guess I planned it out ahead of time or something. I don't know. But a couple things I did. I bring my own pump and to inflate my tires before the race, and also a headlamp. Headlamps are awesome for transition areas early in the morning when the sun's not up and you need to see the air pressure on your pump, for example, and you can't see it because it's down there with all the tires in the darkness and the shadows, and also just looking through bags. You're trying to see into a bag in the dark. Well, guess what? It's really hard to see your power bar down there in the bottom of your bag to make sure that you got it when you can't see it. So a headlamp is awesome. But then we had some pump drama. There's a problem with bringing your own pump. Is not everybody brings their own pump, and then everybody starts asking you for your pump. And by the third person that was in line to borrow my pump, I told myself, because I'm nice, and I'm like, I love helping people. That's why I do a podcast. And I'm like, okay, next person that asks you got to say no, because you got to go finish doing your stuff and you got to get to the swim start. I'm trying to start at the towards the front of the swim start. And I've never done a rolling swim start at an Ironman before with 2,000 people. I don't know what's going on. I need to get down to the swim area, and it's a mile walk down there, and time's getting close. And so I told myself, next person that asks you for a pump, to borrow your pump, you have to say no, sorry. Okay, so then I told myself that. And then within like 30 seconds, hey man, can I borrow your pump? Or he asked the guy that's using the pump, that's still got two people in line after him. And he points at me, and he says, well, it's his pump. And I go, man, I'm really sorry, but I can't. I got to get going. I got my family waiting for me over there, and we need to get down to the water area. And I've already got two other people in line for the pump. I got to go. And then the guy was like, well, that's cool. And then he looked at me for a second. And he goes, hey, you're Brett you're the ZenTri guy, right? And I was like, oh, crap. I just told a show fan no. It's kind of like being asked for an autograph and going, I don't have time for that, like that. And I felt like such a dick. And I was like, oh man. And I told the guy, I go, man, I'm so sorry, dude. I gotta go, man. And so to that guy that asked me, I feel terrible about that. But I had to go, but at least know that how I feel, and that I wish everybody could use my pump all the time. I'd bring my pump. I would become a volunteer at races and just bring a pump, just walk around with it if I could. Okay. Then, let's see, we walked down to the start, and that's a mile walk. So Kai and Emily and I are walking, and we're not arguing about anything. We're having a good time, and it's actually a lot of fun because you see there's all the talking going on around you about everything that's going on. And then something bad happened where you get race numbered. Oh, at Ironman Texas, you don't get race numbered at the bike area. You get race numbered at the swim start, which is really, really smart. I like that. In and out of the transition area is so fast, so smooth, because they don't race number you until the swim start, which is a totally separate area, which is smart. So we're walking down there, and the line for the bathrooms is just terrible. Even though there is a ton of porta-cans, the line to get into the porta-cans was stupid long and moving so slowly. And I just want to go bang on the doors of the porta-can and go, hurry up, man. We got to start anytime. And also, the line for the swim start, to start lining up, and they do like the marathon placards, it was like sub 1 hour, 1 hour to 110, 110 to 120, right? There's like somebody standing over the signs. Well, it crosses paths with the lines for the porta cans. And this is, first time error, because it's the first time they're doing that. But man, it's bad alignment. And so I'm standing there in line. I got to pee so bad that I got to pee. And the way the swim start goes is there's no getting into the water for a warm up. So normally where you could get into the lake and kind of swim around a little bit and pee before the swim start, well, now this doesn't exist. So you got, if you roll into the water after the swim start, I can't race start racing and peeing at the same time, I would have to swim off to the side and then pee for a while, and then start swimming, which adds another minute or two to your time, I guess. I don't know. And then I'm like, well, this sucks. So I'm in line at those porta cans, trying to pee, and that sucked because I finished peeing, and then within like 2 minutes. But because this is how long I had to wait in line at the porta cans, within 2 minutes of that, the swim started, and it was way too stressful. Like, I was like not having fun at that moment whatsoever. So I need to work on that. Not exactly sure how, except to go behind some bushes and pee in a bottle or something. And then I don't know what to do with that. But then also Emily took I made a fuel bottle, dry fuel that I would add water to later, and she took that bag over to it's a Run Special Needs bag. She took that over there, and the transition area, because of all the rain, was a complete mud pit. I mean, it was terrible. Well, not so much between the bikes, but in the middle aisle and on the side aisles around the bikes. And let's see, the swim start was also, like in years before, they have a helicopter flying overhead, and instead of that, they had a drone overhead. And I thought that was really, really cool. The helicopter is awesome because it makes you feel like you're doing something awesome, because it is really loud and it's flying around, and you're like, this is a big deal. And while it's awesome, I guess for some people it might be a little bit stressful. And the drone was kind of new technology, and it was very subtle. It was just kind of flying over there somewhere, and I'm sure it was getting just as good camera footage, and it was just neat, And Ironman took the money that they didn't spend on the helicopter and gave it back to the athletes. Ha! Not. But if you are a race director, it might be a way for you to get footage that I'm sure you all know about this. You've thought about it plenty. Get some good race footage and stuff on the cheap. So that was pretty cool. And I will start up. Oh, wait. There was a... They were doing announcements before the race. The nun that's done, Ironmans forever, I think she's like 83 years old, was in the race. It's got to be the second or third race I've been in with her. And then also they announced a guy that had done 120 Ironmans. And he raised his hand. I was standing, within 10 feet of him or something like that. And it later on in the race, when I was really struggling on the run, and the crowd cheered, right? And I'm really struggling on the run. That guy crossed my mind. That was really, really helpful, because I'm like, he's done 120 Ironmans. Nobody asked him how fast he went. It was just like, this guy's done 120 Ironmans. You don't have to be fast. The 120 Ironmans in itself is quite an accomplishment. So when I was really, really struggling on the run, and I was just like, man, I was considering DNFing because I felt so sick to my stomach. And I was just like, and I was starting to blister under my feet, and the heat and the trudging, and it's just miserable. I was like, this will give you, nobody cares. When you've done this, will move you up from 13 to 14 Ironmans, and nobody asked that guy how fast he went on his 120 Ironmans, what his average speed is, or anything like that. They just cheered, and I was like, man, you just finish an Ironman, because finishing an Ironman, just finishing, is such a huge thing. They are so hard. There's a reason they call them an Ironman, is because they're ridiculously hard. And just finishing is okay. And sometimes you go for speed, and sometimes you go for volume. And that's that. All right, let's go ahead and move into the swim start. But first, let's talk about Amrita Bars. Okay, Amrita Bars has been a long time sponsor of Zen and the Art of Triathlon. And I am super happy to have them as a sponsor, because they are super healthy, and they are date-based with seeds and a little bit of fat in there, like all the good stuff to make you feel great. I race in an Amrita kit. People love the Amrita kit. They got the socks and the jersey, and just everything about Amrita just keeps me super, super stoked to get in the calories that I need, and in a way that's super healthy is just great. Arshad has been an interview on the show before, the owner of Amrita Bars. He's big into using whole foods and health and nutrition to make your life better. And you can get Amrita Bars, which is their main product. You can get those online at amritahealthfoods.com, and you get a discount by putting in the discount code ZEN, all capital letters, ZEN. Go to amritahealthfoods.com, make an order, put in the discount code ZEN, and you get 15% off. It's awesome. I just got some new Amrita bars the other day, pineapple chia. Like a bar spilled out of the box, and I ate it. Because I was like, uh-oh, I better not let this bar go to waste. And Emily was like, well, it's still in the wrapper. And I'm like, I don't care. It could fall right out of the wrapper at any minute, so I better eat it. That's how good they are. They're really great. And actually, I'm finding that eating the Amrita bars, eating one in the morning after I wake up, have a cup of coffee, eat an Amrita bar slowly, and then roll into my morning workout has really leveled out my blood sugar going into workouts. It gives you some nice complex carbohydrates and fat and protein and a really easily digestible package, which just feels great. So I love it, man. Absolutely love it. A real nice turnaround in training fuel in the morning using Amrita bars. So again, discount code ZEN, all capital letters, at amritahealthfoods.com, AMRITA, Amrita, and you get 15% off. All right, let's go back to the swim. Here we go. All right, we are back on it and on the swim. Here we go. They fired the gun. I don't remember what they did. That's how much chaos it was right at the beginning, but not in a bad way, just action. And everybody kind of funneled in down kind of a boat ramp, makeshift boat ramp with carpet down it between the poles and the overhead banner, and slowly filtered in. I tried to get way towards the front, but still letting a few people in front of me, and quite a few people in front of me. So maybe I was, 50th in or something like that in the water. And I couldn't find the timing mat as we went in, so I have no idea where it was, and I don't really like that. I'd like to know where the timing mat is. Couldn't see it for the mass of people, but we rolled in and then started swimming, and it was cool. It was actually really, really cool because it was nowhere near as crowded as it usually is. It was still a little crowded, but it wasn't that bad. And yeah, I could find clear water on occasion for a while, and it was just nice, man. I'm so glad for it, and they still got everybody in just a few minutes. It seems like to me the way everybody was piling in, so it didn't seem like it was that much of a difference between a mass start and a rolling swim, except for the ability to warm up would have been really, really nice. I think they should have let people warm up, and then if you wanted to, when you started to race, you got to get back out again. I think that would have been nice. No warm up is not cool. I don't like that. And let's see, I was just swimming along and having a good time. My swim track on my Garmin 920 ended up being relatively straight. So I was real proud of that. I did a lot of heads-up swimming in the pool and a lot of kind of open water swimming in the pool before the race, the 2 weeks or the week before the race. And what I mean by that is I swam in a pool with no lane ropes and just swam circles for half an hour, which is giving your body no rest for your shoulders, like pushing off the walls, and it's a much better open water simulator, and it was actually really cool. So when it came down to doing the Ironman swim, it was no big deal whatsoever. It was actually I was actually enjoying it quite a bit. I had something crazy happen where I thought my race was going to be a freaking mess. The rush of trying to get in to use the porta potties and then hit the swim had me yanking on my zipper on my Amrita jersey, and my my zipper came undone in a way where I thought my jersey was broken. And I thought, how in the world am I going to do an entire bike ride with half of a jersey? Like, oh man, I've never, every race, there's always some kind of new thing where I'm like, oh, this is a whole other new way to completely ruin your race that I've just figured out. And that happened to me, but then I got my jersey back together. But that's a little bit of the stress going into it that I didn't like. I was just cruising along, bumped into some people kind of here and there, but nothing big. I got annoyed at one guy who kept trying to swim into me, and I looked over him, and on his other side, it was wide open, and he kept doing it. So eventually, I just swam over him and got to his other side, and I just loved the look on his face. Whatever he sat up, I looked back, and he was like breaststroking, like looking around, going, "What the hell just happened?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, quit bumping into people when you have room on the other side." I was shocked that I was passing people as easy as I was swimming, even starting out way towards the front. And all I can guess is that people overestimated their ability and were blowing up already on the swim. And that happened quite a bit. The other thing was, well, I guess we'll get to the Garmin issues in a little bit. I ended up swimming an hour and 3 minutes and change. And the race winner only swam a 55, so the guy that won the overall race only swam in 55 minutes. So it just shows that you don't have to kill yourself out there to win these things. 55 minutes is not like a crazy fast time. And he ended up winning the whole race, and it was nice. And yeah, all right, let's take a break here from the swim, and we'll come back in a second. I got to pick up Kai from triathlon practice. He's on his bike. I got to go get him. All right, hold on. All right, we are back, and we're actually on the road, because if I don't record this thing while I'm driving, then we are never going to get this thing recorded, and we got to get it out there. Let's go ahead and start with the bike, but let me wrap up the swim real quick. The coolest thing about the swim is when you're swimming down the canal, there is a whole bunch of people on either side, and there's a bridge or two that goes overhead, and they're all lined up, and that is super, super cool. Every breath you take, every move you make, every smile you fake, it's cool looking up and seeing people cheering and clapping as you swim by. It's kind of neat. Above you, kind of looking down on you, is kind of odd, but whatever. And then anyway, so you come out of the water, and you have to walk up some steps, sorta, and then you run, and then they hand you your bag as you go into the change tent. And in the change tent, it's already a mud pit in there. Lots of grass and mud all getting mixed up, and you got to put on your cycling shoes and get going, which is very unfortunate kind of way to have things. And I would think Ironman would have just tons more carpet to put places. Just keep investing in carpet. Take all your money that you didn't spend on the helicopter and put it in carpet. You'll use it over and over and over again. Anyway, so I get to my bike, and I I find my bike in the transition area. You spend a little bit of time the days before and the morning of, kind of making sure, using landmarks like a tree here and a person, not a person, that's not a good landmark, they move. Trees and bushes is what works around there, of where your bike is. And yeah, that's how I found where I was supposed to go. And I picked up my bike, turned on my bike computer, and hopped on and started riding. And you go down the street for 20 seconds or so. I don't know, maybe a minute. Probably not. And then you take a turn, and you go down that street for another 30 seconds or so. And right then is when I just got passed. I'm just hopping on my bike and going for a nice 112-mile bike ride. And I get passed by, I think it was two guys that, what are they, a third of a mile into the bike portion of an Ironman, and they are just barreling through this thing like so screaming fast, heads down, taking the next turn in front of me, as fast as possible. And I was just like, man, dude, what is this? A sprint triathlon? What are you guys doing? So I had several thoughts in my mind. One was, well, there's your Kona qualifier types right there. Those guys are hauling ass, and they're going fast enough to do it. 2, those guys are going too fast, and they're going to blow up. And then 3, boy, those are the kind of guys that you used to try to go with sometimes on some races, and then you would blow up. So interesting that they just 30 seconds in the bike ride, I'm being passed at guys going literally twice my speed. I was like, that's weird. Anyway, let's see. I looked down. I'm pedaling along, and after a while, I have 2 bike computers. I got my wristwatch. I got the Garmin 920, and I also have the which I used for the swim, and I hit the lap button to transition area, and then I hit the lap button again to get out of transition and start the bike. And I looked down at my bike computer. I have a Garmin 510 between my arms on the bike, hard mounted to the bike, and it's reading off all kinds of numbers. It's all happy. It's got a power meter. The day before the race and the morning of the race, I spun my wheel, which has the power meter in the hub, and then turned on my bike computer and my watch and made sure that it was reading off something, so I didn't need to replace the battery in the power meter like I did last race. Had a dead battery. And then so I'm on the bike, and the power meter's reading off numbers, and my heart rate strap is reading off numbers, and I'm like, nice. And then I look at my watch on my wrist, and it's reading off time and distance, and that's it. No watts and no heart rate. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And a little while later, look at it again. Yeah, it's not reading anything. The Garmin watch, the Garmin 920 XT, the best watch in the universe, supposedly, the one He-Man would wear in a triathlon, is reading nothing except for what it can find out in clear space, which means it's not picking up my heart rate strap or my power meter. And I'm pissed, and I'm like, God dang it, man. What is going on with this thing? And I think the watch is quirky, where if it doesn't pick up stuff early on just right, then it won't pick it up for the rest of the thing. Ooh, there was an accident here. And I'm driving through all the glass. Somebody rear-ended somebody, it looks like. And both cars have been dragged off the side of the road. So I'm very, very thankful that I ride with 2 computers, one on the bike and then one on my wrist. And this is because over the years I've had stuff go wrong. And over the years, over many, many, many years, I've managed to acquire two devices. And so I ride with both. I think last year when I did Ironman Texas, I forgot to bring my bike computer, but I still had my wristwatch. And so I rode by my watch instead of all my numbers on my bike computer. For example, you can forget things, stuff doesn't work. So I had my backup. And it turns out that was really handy because Tawny's impression was that I overbiked, and I had the bike computer picking up all those numbers to show that I didn't. So I'm riding along, and I'm just going super casual, and there's kind of nothing big going on whatsoever, and all of a sudden I feel a little bit of burning on my hand. I look at my left hand, and somebody had clawed me on the swim, and now my hand's bleeding. I was like, what the hell is that? And that was interesting. I don't even know what to make of that I got cut up on the swim. And then after a while on the bike, there's all these interesting characters. and I saw two characters on the bike. Well, there's three, but two characters that are funny, and then one that I'm pissed off about. And the first one that passed me that was funny was a guy on a bike that was the bike was a little bit too big for him anyway, I think. And then he had his handlebars positioned so that he was like in the Superman position. So his arms were more straight than they were bent, and his arms were way out in front of him. And the reason I noticed this was he was all over the road, because with try steering your car or try steering your bicycle with your hands way, way, way out in front of you, and it makes you really off balance. So he was wobbling all over the road. It was really bizarre. And he was an older guy. He looked like he was about 45, 50 years old and in shape. So I don't know what in the world he was thinking. You would think somebody like that would be smarter than that. And it was actually dangerous. I like to call him the unicorn cyclist, because it looked like he was riding with his hands out on the end of a unicorn horn to steer this bike. And a nice bike and everything. And like I said, looked like a super fit dude. And he, the wobbling was dangerous to other cyclists, kind of. Like, you didn't want to get near him because he might sideswipe you, because he was always losing his balance and then trying to get his balance back. And it was a windy day. And then when he would go through an aid station, he was all over the place. And he was a cyclist that I noticed because he stood out so much that it went out too fast. And a little while later, I passed him back. And then there was another cyclist much later on that had his aero bars so low in the front. It was the opposite. Instead of up and out so far, they were down so far that his hands were within a few millimeters of touching the front wheel. So it was like the front wheel was grazing his hands. They were so low. His aero position was so low on the bike. And I thought that was really bizarre too. It's really, really weird. All right, I got to go into W to the E. Okay, we'll catch up in a minute. Out, bang. All right, we're back. It is, what is it, Thursday morning? And we're at the pool, just wrapping up a swim. We're going to talk more about the bike here in a second. But let me put my my swimsuit into the Nissan Xterra roof box here. First swim since Ironman Texas, I think, and just taking it easy. Swam 50 something minutes continuous, just nonstop. Just cruising along around 3,000 meters, just over 3,000 meters. And here we go. All right, so I'm on the bike. Ride with me as we go to work. I'm on the bike and looking down at my power numbers. I'm like, all right, let's just cruise around 270. Well, not 270. Oh my God, no way. Let's cruise around 200 because first off, there's some criticism on Slow Twitch forums, and oh my God, I've never in my life lost trust in humanity after people saying stuff about my race on Slow Twitch that had no idea about anything. And some people, I got quite a few comments and actually some private messages of people that were like that were really helpful and useful. And then some other ones where I was like, oh my God, you guys could not be more wrong about something. And it made me, I had a flash of insight. We talked about enlightenment on the last show. I had a flash of insight of, Jesus, man, if you're not the person doing it, then you have no idea what actually happened. And to never have an opinion about what actually happened unless you were there. Because it just blew my mind. I was like, oh my God, I so many times have decided that I knew what happened and gave advice on something when on, like, say, for example, Slow Twitch, when and judged something when I thought I knew what I was talking about. And this couldn't have been more freaking I couldn't have been more wrong, because some people saying some stuff on Slow Twitch couldn't have been more wrong. It was absolutely freaking mind blowing. One, that I don't listen to Tawny, and two, that I overbiked, which was so wrong. And Tawny and I talked about it on the last episode. It was actually outrageous, and it hurts, man. You're like, what the hell, dude? What do you know? And then so I learned, my experience with that was real thickening of my shell on what people say to you over the internet, because I've now lived through people having no freaking clue knowing what they're saying on the internet, and so therefore only believe in about 5%. Filter it down. I said like 2%. I tweeted something like 2%, and somebody said, no, actually statistically there's been research on this. It's 5%. So double it, but still it's horrible, like how incorrect people are. So don't listen to anything, basically, of what people say on the internet. And anyway, so one thing was power watts. I didn't go into this much on Tawny's show, but some people are like, you don't know your threshold. You judged your power curve and all, or your power meter stuff on old data and whatever. And it's like, man, if I could give a 3-hour class for a semester every day on power meters and how they work and I've been using one since 2006. I had a personal class on how to use a power meter and how to evaluate watts and everything else by Alan Lim himself in person in Boulder, Colorado. All I do is research power meters. I've been since like 2006, and I've used power so much and analyzed people's power curves and my own, and coaching clients, and watched for growth, and used every single software package out there to analyze all that stuff, that I've actually come around full circle. And I learned that one thing is you end up chasing numbers all the time, and it ends up ruining your training. So you kind of need to back off from over-analyzing your power meter stuff. And I'll give you 2 examples why. One, I'll just give you a pro. I think it's Sebastian Kienle. He doesn't race by power because he found that and trained by power. And he won Ironman Hawaii. And it's because he found that it led him to overtrain. And we're talking a lot about overtraining, lately, but I know I have the tendency to do that. So I got to stay away from looking at the power numbers too much. And then what I do is I kind of check in on them on occasion, and then I downgrade my estimate by a percentage or two, by quite a few percentage. Like, I feel like at analyzing everything and testing that my FTP is 280 watts. So I'm like, just to be safe, let's just say it's 270, And what people will normally do is be like, well, I bet I could squeeze out more if I had a really great day. So they'll be like 290. And that's the wrong way to go. And then also Gordo Byrne, who's Ultraman Wizard, has taught classes, or I don't know if he teaches classes, but done lots of online discussion about power meters. And you can go out and do 20-minute tests, 30-minute tests, but you get really good at testing, and it's different than using a power meter in the real world. So what you should do, like if you do 20-minute tests on a trainer, you get really good at doing 20-minute tests on a trainer. And on race day, you're not as good as riding the open road. And you're going to have worse results. And you're going to overdo it because you think your watts should be better than they are. There's things like if you do a power meter test and you do it uphill, actually you squeeze more watts out of the bike. There are all kinds of stuff like that. And then there's weather conditions and everything. So what Gordo teaches is you go out and train, and then you look at the watts that you're putting out, and that lead you like on open road, rolling terrain, similar to your race course, with up and down, and with and also look at those watts. And then when you run afterwards, how do you run afterwards? And those are the kind of watts that you sample and go, okay, these are my my FTP. So I had in the fall, I had a race, Ironman 70.3 Austin, where for an hour during the bike ride, I put out 272 watts for an hour, right? And that's your FTP, is what your best you can do for an hour. So I'm like 272 watts. And then I, all winter and all spring, all I've been doing is working on my bike and increasing the watts. So I'm probably up to 280, 285, 290 or something like that. But I'm like, yeah, maybe, probably. I mean, I'm positive that I am. And all the testing and the riding that I do shows that I'm actually stronger. Real world results like snagging Strava KOMs away from people and stuff. That's real world. And then, so just to be safe at Ironman Texas, I'm going to say my FTP is 270, right? See how I rounded down a little bit just to be safe because I want to have a nice run. Okay, so then that's a whole freaking, what do you call it, power meter drama. So anyway, and then, so I'm riding along, 270. If then you estimate, based on your fitness and how much risk you want to take, it's kind of like investing. It's a sliding scale on what percentage of your FTP that you use. It's anywhere 65 to 75. If you're a pro, you can do like 80-something% of your FTP on the race, because the faster you are, the shorter the bike ride's over, so you can get away with using more of your FTP, you know? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be safe. 70% is kind of low average, kind of meh, kind of like a C plus estimate. So I'm using a C plus estimate of how hard I'm going to go. Very conservative, how hard I'm going to go off of a conservative FTP estimate, right? And so I'm like, okay. And that ends up being around like, it's like 190 watts, 195, I forgot, of 270. So then I'm biking along and also studying all kinds of power curves, power data from races, from pros, and people that share this stuff. You do go a little bit harder at the beginning of the bike ride, that's okay, and then you kind of taper off and gently don't go as hard the second half. And I could see how somebody could, argue against that, like a negative split it or something like that, whatever. But anyway, it's just natural human tendency to go a little bit harder in the first half and then kind of taper off the second half because you're excited and you're full of, energy and stuff like that. So I'm riding along and we got a tailwind on the way out, and it's I'm riding at 205 normalized power. And normalized power is a formula that looks at surging and multiplies your actual watts by a little bit of a percentage based on how much surging you do. And you should try to keep that down to a minimum. You keep your normalized watts as close to your actual watts. If you're doing long distance time trial, flatter road style riding, as opposed to like pack riding where you're lots of surging and stuff like that with a Peloton over a sprint. Okay, so I'm riding along, 205 watts, I'm cruising along, and then I guess I'll wrap up the watt stuff now. So I'm and around the turnaround point, the headwind, it's not a turnaround point, it's a big loop. But anyway, on the way back, the loop goes back into a headwind, massive headwind, and really strong. A lot of people are having trouble with it. A lot of people complaining about it. It's really windy. A lot of people all over the road. It's actually a little bit difficult steering with a disc and a 404 front wheel, and I got pushed around, blown around a little bit. But anyway, I just look at my power meter, and I let my power gradually drop over the next, on the way back, gradually over time. So, 205. I think my normalized power ended up going down to 195 average on the way back. But what you do is you ride into the headwind, your instinct is to push harder, and then you don't want to do that. So I just watched my my watts and made sure that I was actually going as easy as possible on the way back so that I had plenty of energy to run. And positive splitted it big time so that I really backed off on the way back so I would have plenty of energy to run in my legs. And I was having trouble. I needed to pee, but the course isn't really hilly enough to get a long descent where you can actually pee while you're on the bike. And I tried a few times, and so eventually I just quit. And I pulled over to the side of the road somewhere after the halfway point. I peed a couple times on the bike, but only kind of like half peeing because I had to start pedaling again, or else I'd fall over because I'm coming up the next hill because the hills are so short. And so eventually I said, F this, and got off the bike and went into a porta-can and peed. And it was funny. I got out of the porta-can. There's a guy there. I laid my bike on the ground when I went in. And then when I got out, there was a guy standing there with my bike, which was pretty cool. Goes, here you go. All right. And when I come back, we're going to do a little bit of standing up against drafters. I had a little incident on the bike ride that you got to check out. All right. Out. Bang. Or something. How do I turn this thing off? All right, I'm back. Man, such a triathlete in training podcast. Only time to record is when I'm actually driving. So I learned from a mentor of sorts, a professor, years and years and years ago when I was highly impressionable, to stand up against things and say something when somebody is acting totally incorrectly and that it's harmful to the community, to the environment, or something like that. Just get in the habit of standing up and speaking your voice and correcting somebody when you see something that's wrong. And I've had to do it a few times in my life, and every time I've been extremely glad that I did. And so what it leads me to is I was pedaling along and through the national forest there, Sam Houston National Forest, which is real pretty, and big pine trees and everything. The bike ride's just cruising along. I'm less than halfway through it, I think, like say mile 40 or something like that, and just having a good old time, just riding along, watching my watts and enjoying the trees and everything, and passing people and people passing me, and just keeping it mellow. And all of a sudden, behind me, I hear talking, and like for a while, for like a minute or I don't know, whatever. And I'm like, that sure is a long time for a lot of chatter between two people. And then I'm like, what is this, like some kind of group ride or something like that? What in the world's going on? Why would somebody be talking like that? And so I'm not really listening because I'm trying to focus on my own stuff. But then I couldn't help but hear certain phrases, such as, and it was one guy that was doing most of the talking and being kind of loud, and you could really pick him out voice-wise. And he was saying things like, I draft all the time, every single race, as much as possible. I like to draft. I draft as much as I possibly can, and I do it all the time. I draft, ha ha ha, oh, it's so great, that's what I do, and I draft. And the other person was just kind of like, okay, like that. And I thought, that this is intolerable freaking behavior by somebody. I kind of look behind me to my left, and there's two guys, and they're riding kind of side by side, one of them kind of behind the other a little bit, and I slam on my brakes to drop me back to right next to them, and I go, and I could tell which one it was that was talking, and I said, "So you like to draft, huh? You say you like to draft all the time." And he got real quiet. This guy that was bragging about all his stuff, just all of a sudden just shut up. And and I said, "Really? You think it's really cool that you draft all the time in this race where it's a race of non-drafting, and so you're sitting there breaking the rules, and you just really like to draft, do you?" And that's and he wouldn't say anything of substance. And then I looked over at his race number. I'm just making up a race number now. I don't remember what it is, but I'm like, "So number 2632, you're the guy that likes to draft. I'm sure the race officials would really like to know all about you and how much you like to draft and that you brag about it to everybody." And then he goes, "Oh, it wasn't me. He's the one that said that." And he pointed to the other guy, and the other guy just looked at me like, whatever. And then I go, "Okay, well, 2632, Mr. Drafter, I can't wait to tell everybody about how much you like to draft." And he goes, he just shut up and then pedaled off as fast as he could to kind of get away from the guy that wouldn't tolerate it and was standing up against such stupid behavior. It is such bullcrap when people draft, and when it happens in races, it's hurting the race, it's hurting Ironman, it's hurting all triathlons. It's dangerous. It's so freaking unbelievable, and it's up to people. It'll continue to happen until culture is people won't tolerate it and will call it out whenever they see it. It's a hard battle to fight because drafters tend to go faster, and so they pass you as you start to do it, and you got to watch out. You don't want to get into fights with people and be passive aggressive, where there's stories where people will take other people's water bottles off their bike and throw them into the bushes. That was a good one from Kona last year. And you're going to draft like that. Now you won't, because now you don't have any fuel or water because it just took it off your bike. That's borderline assault. You don't want to touch anybody or anything, but you want to stand up and say, "I'm not going to sit here and tolerate this and not say anything." If you're so behind it, then behind the whole drafting thing, then you won't have a problem with me telling everybody out there about how much you like to draft, right? And if you try to hide it and pedal off and deny it, well, then it's freaking wrong. You really know it's wrong and that you shouldn't be doing it. So, all right. That was my moment of like, man, I'm not gonna tolerate this. Anyway, so then I let it go as fast as I could and let it not bother me too much during the race, because I've got my own race to do, and I did what I could. And if I focus on him and what he's doing, then my mind is with him and not with me. And I just let it go. And I figured I'd talk about it on the podcast, and that would be closure, and that's it. And you people out there can do whatever you want with that. Anyway, so let's see. I'm pedaling along. Halfway point of the bike was a marker. Oh, in training, I did a bunch of longer rides. Not a bunch, like 3 really long rides. 4 hours, then 4.5 hours the next weekend, and then 5 hours the next weekend. And my estimated time was somewhere around 5.5 hours. So I knew that I would just do another training ride plus another extra half hour, and that would get me there on the bike, and that would be nice. And so that kind of training actually really paid off. I was really happy with the level of effort and like how long I felt like I was having to be out there. With about an hour and a half left on the bike, my heart rate was nice and low, like 130 was nice. And with about an hour and a half left on the bike, I started noticing how hot it was getting. It was getting brutally hot. And I also do the Ferris Also Tan thing, where I use the back of my tri-shorts, the butt crack, as a bottle cage. I don't know if I'd call it a bottle holder. I wouldn't really call it a bottle cage. But I would go through an aid station and grab, when it started getting hot like that, I would go and grab 2 water bottles. One every every hour. Or there's one every 10 miles, pretty much, on the aid station. So I grabbed 2 water bottles, and I would try to drink one-ish, and then use the other one. I started pouring it over my head and on my arm coolers and on my body, and it really did keep me a lot cooler. It's pretty smart. I wish I had one of those helmets with the water port on the top. That would be pretty cool. For these really hot races, you put your race number on the front. Well, the vents on the front of my aero helmet, I cut the race number so that it doesn't cover up the vents too much. Hardly at all, actually. And then also for fuel, I did maltodextrin and hornet juice, and it was about 300 and something calories per hour, like low 300s, and sea salt, about half a teaspoon per hour, plus a little bit extra of sea salt in my mix, and my fueling was going along just fine. Towards the end of the bike ride, I was getting kind of turned off from it, didn't really want that much more. And I didn't try to push it too hard. And then with half an hour on the bike ride left, I quit drinking fuel altogether. And because I've learned that's really good on the run, and it works, and it worked during this race really nicely up to a point. And then there was something else. I have between the arms aero bottle on the front, a X-Lab torpedo bottle, and my first hour's worth of fuel was in that. And then that turned into a water reservoir after I emptied that. And then I had a frame bottle, an aero bottle. God, who makes it? Chrono? Anyway, an aero bottle on the frame that had the rest of my fuel in it, concentrated for the rest of the hour. And I would take a sip, and that bottle had markers on it for each hour. And I would drink only up to, at most, the marker for the hour, and then drink a whole lot of water with it to get more, or to dilute it, and also to get all my hydration. And it was working really, really nice. And then there was something crazy on the bike ride. I saw the Honey Egypt Road section on the way back. There was a pothole that you would have never seen, and it was just, what stood out in my mind is we saw an ambulance way up ahead on the road, and I was like, what in the world is going on? And I'm riding along, and I'm like, oh, it looks like maybe there was a bike wreck up ahead. And then I see this pothole that had to be several inches deep, and like a foot or two across, but the asphalt around it had never cracked, so it was just smooth, and a smooth hole that. The problem is with it being so smooth, you never would have seen it coming until it was too late. And let's say you were riding with one hand, pouring water over your head, or drinking or something like that. If you hit that thing, it would have effed you up, man. And I've hit stuff like that. Kai was asking me about that the other day. He was asking me about riding around town. I said, man, I've wrecked here, I've wrecked there, I've wrecked there, I've wrecked there, I've wrecked over there, and I've peed over there. We're out driving in the countryside looking at a time trial course. And he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, man. And he goes, how'd you wreck? And I said, I don't know, just sitting up on my bike, and then bam, hit a pothole. Oh, I was trying to show him where there's a bump in the road. So when he's doing time trials, he doesn't hit it and wreck, surprisingly. And so anyway, apparently a guy... And then I call it a yard sale. Whenever a lot of people call it that, when you wreck and then you're all over the road, and all your gear and your equipment and your bottles, food are all spread out all over the shoulder of the road. And one time I did it. I was in the middle of a highway, and but it was real quiet. There wasn't a car for a while, and it's called a yard sale. Everything's out there, and they were loading a guy at the from this pothole. Just 100 feet down from the pothole, they were loading a guy into an ambulance, and he had a busted up arm, man. And he was on a gurney. He was kind of sitting up, so I think he was okay-ish, like conscious wise, but he was out, totally out of it. And then after the race, the guy that won first in his age group, I guess, like, let's say 25, 29, I forgot what age group it was. That guy wrecked on his bike and broke his elbow but it's a bone apparently that's if you're going to break a bone in your elbow, it's the best one to break. But even though it was broken, he managed to finish the bike ride and then ran a winning race and won his age group and qualified for Kona. I think he won his age group. But anyway, he qualified for Kona. It's pretty crazy. All right, I got it to run an errand real quick, and I'll be right back with more bike wrap up and then going into the run. And also, we need to mention a sponsor, Sound Probiotics. It'll be cool. Hold on. All right, we are back on the bike. Oh, but let's talk about Sound Probiotics. Every day I'm taking a Sound Probiotics pill, which is a super easy to take pill. Doesn't taste like anything. It's a little tiny little pill, little capsule. And the probiotics are the good stuff for the good bacteria in your gut, and theirs are engineered for athletes. And not only is your gut happy, but the major side effect is your guts are the bacteria in your guts are like something like 70% of your immune system. And guess who hasn't gotten sick since I started taking Sound Probiotics? Once. This guy. And guess what really ruins your training and your racing? It's getting sick. And I know that Rachel Joyce is taking Sound Probiotics. A whole bunch of pros are taking it. A whole bunch of everybody's taking it because they're engineered for actually athletes and the kind of food we eat and for our bodies and for what we need. And it is so easy, so simple, so much cheap insurance to make sure that you don't, man, when you're sick, you can't take care of your family, you can't go to work, all kinds of crap starts happening, your life starts coming apart. So don't get sick and help digest your food properly and get the right bacteria in your guts and get some Sound Probiotics. They are 10% off at soundprobiotics.com. Hey, there's a Honda Element, a squirrel moment. There's my old Honda Element, the blue one. Anyway, 10% off at soundprobiotics.com and with discount code ZEN, all capital letters. Go check them out. They're a great supporter of the show and really love having them on board. Easy to do. And we got some more food and nutrition people coming along with Amrita, coming along really soon. That'll be in the next episode. We'll talk about that. But let's go back to the bike. Talking about precautions and such. The one thing is putting on sunscreen out there. And in the bento box of my bike, I have a squeeze tube of sunscreen and with a flip top. So you just flip it, squeeze some on my quad area of, like, let's say my left leg while I'm pedaling along, and then I rub it in my leg, and then I take the extra and rub it on my neck, and then a little while later I squeeze some onto my other leg, rub it into that leg, and then rub the extra onto my face, and then a little while later I'm wearing arm coolers, but let's say onto my shoulders, one shoulder, and then onto my back of my hand, and I just kind of rotate around whenever I kind of think about it, putting on a little bit more sunscreen, and moving wherever I haven't put it lately is where I put it next. And it's nice, man. It works really, really well. You got to watch out a little bit for getting sunscreen on your hands, and then not being able to control your bike. So I tend to do it on an uphill segment, sit up on my bike, put on a little bit of sunscreen, and it works really, really well. So the tip here is get a small bottle with a flip top lid that you can hold with one hand and squeeze it and then put it back in the bento box and then start smearing it around. And that way you can keep pedaling and not have to pull over to put on sunscreen. And if you don't put on sunscreen, you are going to be a mess and be scorching, burning hot. You know how, like, when you have a fever, how hot you are? Well, that's going to start happening if you don't protect yourself with sunscreen. Your skin's going to start reacting and getting red, and that's going to make you even hotter, I think, and make you kind of a mess. So you don't want to be like that, so put on sunscreen during the bike. And guess who didn't get a sunburn at all during the race? This guy. I was trying on a t-shirt today, and I was looking in a mirror, and no sunburns, no tan lines, nothing from the race. Got a little bit darker, but definitely no sunburn. Okay. Downside of the bike in the race is I was definitely feeling symptoms of burnout on the bike. because you're having to go so slow and you're just pacing yourself, and it's a 112-mile bike ride. You're just kind of like, bleh, you know. You're having to hold back so that you have a good run. It's a huge mistake to try to race the bike portion of an Ironman, I guess, unless you're like the best of the best pro. Then maybe you can hammer it, but not this guy, and probably not you. And so just I was just sitting there going, man, you know, all this training and all this stuff for this, you know, I'm just kind of pedaling along for 5 hours and 6 hours, whatever I'm going to be out here. And I was not into it whatsoever. And but I wasn't hating it. I was just not into it. And there's a difference. Like real burnout, real bad burnout is you're like, I am hating this. And I was not like that, but I was definitely kind of like, I'm not into this, which is a sign. Ever since I had a real bad burnout episode a few years ago, I think it was 2011, I've paid really close attention to that. And when I start getting symptoms of burnout, that's when we need to start pulling back. And we talk a lot about that on Tawny's episode of ZenTri. And so I was like, yep, definitely after this race, I'm going to pull back and not do much for a little bit and just kind of settle down. And we're going to talk about that in future episodes about how to do that. I've got some really good tips that really work nicely and that I'm doing right now that work on that. And but yeah, so burnout on the bike. But I wasn't that worried about it because we're about to head into the run, and the run's going to be a real shit show. It's going to be a scene of just chaos because of the fans and the cheering and all that stuff through most of it. It's pretty nuts. And it's fun, and it's way more social, so it's actually pretty good stuff. Then let's see. At one point on the bike, I passed at least one female pro, which I was really excited about, because male or female, if you're a pro, you're pretty freaking badass. And for me to pass you means I'm doing really good. And I use that as kind of a benchmark. I'm like, man, if I pass a female pro, and plus I'm always excited to see pros and meet them and stuff. And I think she was number 61. So if you see whoever was number 61, I didn't look it up, in the race, and she smiled when I passed. And I said, good job, keep going. And it's not that much harder. It's not that hard for a guy usually to pass a girl on a bike. The way guys are built versus girls, guys, are faster on the bike than girls with less effort than you would think. And then it goes back to the run, and girls just, crush us all over again because they're freaking beasts out there. Run is a weight penalty, and the bigger guys, that were fast on the bike, now have to run with all that weight, and then the girls pass them back. I'm sure she passed me on the run probably several times. And then, but that was pretty cool. And then there was a funny sign on the side of the road, and I that sign's been there for a while, and I knew I'd seen it before, but I forgot what it said, and this time I remembered it. It's like this country sign that's like, hand wood burned into the wood, and it said, no shoulder, no cyclists, and it was hanging from a tree, and it was just a hateful sign, and it looks like I didn't notice as much stuff this year as I have in years previously of anti-cyclist, anti-Ironman stuff out there. Local yokels that hate cyclists out taking up their road and think that they're going to be aggressive and mean towards cyclists is actually going to do anything. And it kind of galvanizes the cyclist back. And so it doesn't really help. But no shoulder, no cyclist. The road we were on at that moment had no shoulder on it. And so I guess they were trying to say, hey, jerks, there's no shoulder on this road, so there shouldn't be any cyclists. So quit biking down this road because there's no shoulder. I'm like, dude, this road that we were on was so quiet, and it would be a huge waste of resources to put a shoulder on it. And if you happen to be one of the 10 people that year to drive down that road, then I'm sure you can easily go around the cyclists. The law, at least in Texas, is you need to treat bikes are essentially like slow-moving farm equipment. And so what you do when somebody acts like that is you ask them, like say at work, somebody's like, man, I hate those cyclists that block the road. I hear that every once in a while. And it's like, without skipping a beat, you say, What do you do when there's a tractor driving down the road? Do you honk at them and yell at them to get out of the road? Well, no. Well, what do? Well, I wait and I go around. Okay, bikes are classified by the Department of Transportation, or DPS, that's Department of Public Safety, that's the highway department, as slow-moving vehicles, exactly the same as farm equipment. So all you got to do is just imagine it's a tractor. You already act appropriately to a tractor, so just wait your turn and go around. You don't shake your fist at the farmer, who's driving a tractor down the side of the road. You just wait until there's opportunity to pass, which is usually instantly, in like 30 seconds, and then you go around it. Go around them. It's super calm and the smart thing to do. Anyway, Kai pulled one of those on me and Emily yesterday. I was telling him about, he was looking at bikes on the internet, and he goes, what about this bike? And I just started laughing. I go, Kai, that's an $11,000 bike. It said so next to it. And he goes, well, how much is your car? And I go, I don't know. It's a Nissan Xterra, run, up to like 30,000. And I go, I don't know, like 20 to 30,000. And he goes, well, it doesn't cost anywhere near as much as your car. Like that. And I was like, oh man, this kid is a cyclist through and through, man. He's already rationalizing expensive bikes by comparing them to cars. And he's right. It's freaking funny, man. Okay, it's a good argument tactic. And then you take the thing that somebody is already used to doing, and then you compare your thing to that, and then they go, oh, well, I guess it isn't that bad. Okay, then I tried 2 new things on the bike. That is, that thing, never do anything new on the bike. But it wasn't totally new. I did a few trainer rides with this stuff and tested out to make sure. And I was running down to the wire of making changes before the race, and I was letting stuff slack. That was another sign that I was getting kind of burned out. I said I didn't shave my legs with the clippers until we were leaving the hotel to go do the race that morning. That's when I decided, oh yeah, I need to do my leg clippers. And there was some other stuff too. But like a week before the race, my new cycling shoes, which are lighter, which will make you faster because it's less weight, it's less rotational weight that you have to push around with your legs. I was going from old nylon heavy shoes to what are they? Specialized Trivent Experts, which have white carbon on the underside, and they're white and they're super, super ventilated. Like super ventilated. And I was like, man, for this race with all this heat, these are really going to help like a lot. If something doesn't go wrong, they're going to be great. So I did a few rides on the trainer with those, and I was really worried. I was like, man, I'm going to blister with these. I've never ridden more than an hour with them. It's really starting to scare me. Bolts could come loose from the cleats and stuff, but after 2 rides, nothing went wrong. I was a little bit bothered by them but I was like, by race day, I'm going to be pedaling easier. Even though it's longer, I'm going to be pedaling easier. I don't know, man. It was real touch and go with those. It's probably a dumb decision, but it ended up being okay because nothing ever went wrong with the shoes. And then the other one was Zip and Tri-Rig make a computer mount where if you combine the 2 of them, your torpedo aero bottle, or any bottle that you want, is now hard mounted to your aero bar extensions, and now there's a computer mount in front of the bottle. And the way how long my forearms are and the way I sit on the bike, this thing is perfect. I love having a computer between my hands, and this thing set it up wonderfully with exactly where I wanted it to be, and it's nice and aero, and everything's trimmed up and good. And so I rode a couple trainer rides with that on, and I'll have to post some pictures of it eventually on my Instagram feed. I'm ZenTriathlon on Instagram, of what this looks like. And everything held together and is nice. And even after the race, everything's still tight and well made. I'll have to talk about this setup because it's actually really smart if this is how you like stuff. So yeah, look for that. Okay, I'll be back in just a minute. I've got some stuff to do real quick, and we'll talk about T2 and going into the run. It was actually a lot of fun. All right, hold on. All right, are we on? Kai, are we on?
I hope.
Okay, so we've just had something really special happen. Kai and I went and did the local time trials for the bike club out here, and it was 20K, which is 12.4 miles or something like that. And a person in front of me is sitting on their butt at a green light. And so Kai went out there with me. It's open road. It's really intimidating. It's a country road, but it's open to traffic, and it's an out and back. And it's on, half of it is on chip seal, and it's got hills, and we had a headwind going out. So it is really hard work. And if you remember earlier, I said the best way to get watts so that you know what your actual functional threshold, FTP, is to actually go out and ride hard, and then on rolling terrain. So this was a perfect example. This was out and back, and it took me 30 minutes and 30 seconds on the dot. And so there's a formula for your FTP if you do a 30-minute time trial, and I averaged 299 watts for 30 minutes. And so your FTP is something like all right. And are we still recording? We're still recording. Okay. So then so basically 299 watts, right? And then now I have my watts for a while for FTP, right? Whatever. I think it's like 95% of a 30-minute test is gives you your FTP. So let's see. Just off the top of my head, that would be 95% of that would probably be around 285 or something, I guess. I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Need a calculator. But anyway, Kai wrote it too, and Kai did it. He's the youngest kid, I think, that's ever done it. And you did it in 5150, right? And the how was it? You did great, by the way. I was so impressed. Okay, quit sucking the milkshake down for a second. All right.
What was the question?
How was it?
Oh, very awesome.
Okay, how did you approach this race? Remember the tips I gave you? What kind of stuff did you do? Ride easy at first.
Ride easy first.
And then you attack the hill.
And then I attack the hill
on the way back?
Like an elephant.
Yeah?
Or a donkey or a llama.
Yeah? Elephant, donkey, llama attack?
Yeah.
Like Pokemon attack, shape of elephant, donkey, llama. Yeah, and you did really well. Everybody was waiting for you at the end. You went first, right? And everybody went off in minute intervals, right? And I got first place overall. I was super stoked. I think I did. We'll have to check the results. And there's people, A&M, Texas A&M is in the town that we live in, so there's people from all over the world here, professors and researchers and stuff. So there was people from Brazil and Italy, I think, and Spain that were here. And the guy that holds the record did it in like 26 minutes, something like that, like last year, I think. And that guy's brother is a Cat. I think this guy's a Cat 1, and that guy's brother is in the Giro right now, racing, and got 9th today, whoever that is. So it's all good, man. Hey, Kai, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, it was such an honor racing with my own son. Our first dude, is that our first ever race together? We're actually racing each other?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah? It begins. How about that, dude? I'm so proud of you, man. Super, super proud of you. Mommy's going to be proud, too. All right. We got to go. Out, bang. All right. We are back. I am super proud of Kai yesterday. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier. He's 45 minutes into this thing. I ride back to where he was finishing up and catch up with him, and then because it was an out and back. So when I finished, I rode back out to where he was. And then I'm riding the rest of the way with him. And I said, "Are you doing okay?" And he goes, "Yeah, why?" I was like, "I don't know, because you've been riding your ass off for almost an hour." And then, what was the other thing I said? He goes, after we were done, he goes, Daddy, can I race it next time? And I'm like, you weren't racing? And he goes, nah, you told me to take it easy. So I did. And I was like, well, I figured you'd still kill yourself. So, oh, I got the hiccups. Just ate an Amrita bar. Oh my God. Okay, I'm leaving Kai's elementary school. They just did elementary school graduation, which was really cute. And Emily only cried a lot. All right, let me, before we get into T2, let me tell you about something that I like. Chris Haig called me up and we were talking, and he said he is getting into coaching. And Chris Haig is super fast. He's a young guy. I'm trying to guess about how old he is. Maybe he's 28. I think he's about 28. But anyway, he used to run, I think, track for Sewanee, University of the South at Sewanee, and he is crazy fast. And he's one of my good friends. He's been on the show a bunch of times, and he's very accomplished. He's very much an elite triathlete, and he started coaching. And you can find out more about Chris at chrishaigracing.com. There's Emily and Kai in the car next to me honking. And I honk back. Oh, they're having so much fun. And the glory of living in a small town. You just happen to be next to your wife and kid in the car next to you. And let's see, Chris Haig, and yeah, Hague, like the Hague. Chris Haig Racing. And I'm honored to have him ask to be on the show as a sponsor, so that y'all can find out all about him. If you want an enthusiastic, super bright guy, as sharp as a whip, and super fast coach that's really into the sport. He's worked at a triathlon shop and all the racing background in college and all that good stuff. And like I've always said, pick a coach that inspires you. Find out more about Chris Haig at Chris Haig Racing, Hague. Super glad to have you on the show. Okay, back to T2. So I'm coming off the bike. Legs are a little tired, but that's expected because you just rode a freaking Ironman bike ride. And I guess average watts for the whole thing was probably 190 or something like that, right? And I'm getting off the bike, and then I realize, oh yeah, I got to decide, do I want to wear my shoes off the bike, or do I want to wear my socks or whatever? And the place is a freaking mud pit, right? So I'm like, well, I guess I'll just wear my shoes, and that way I'll keep my socks mostly dry. And I get off the bike, and I kind of fast walk it through the transition area, trying to keep my feet kind of clean. And Emily said something like, are you okay? Because you're walking. Or maybe she asked me after the race. And I go, no, I was fine. Like, I was walking because I got a Ironman to run. I got a marathon to run. There's no point to start running my ass off through transition area and fall down or something like that. I got a bike and a helmet and gear, and I'm trying to hit stuff on my watch, and walking a little bit. It's always smart to walk a little bit of that Ironman marathon as soon as you can. And so that's where I decided to walk it, was mostly walk it. Kind of jog walked a little bit through the transition area. Last year, people burned their feet on the pavement from not wearing socks or shoes and then walking across the pavement. And so I decided to wear my shoes just to be safe. And so even after all that, I took off my shoes. Oh, I did take off my shoes after I grabbed my run bag. I figured I'd made it through the muddy part. And then I go to the T2 tent, and it's full of mud. And now I'm in my socks. And I'm like, God damn it. After that effort of trying to keep my feet clean, now I'm back in the mud again. And so that was a little interesting and not cool. So I'm getting changed in the tent. I don't think I went to pee in the tent anywhere. I don't think I needed to quite yet. And there's lots of porta cans on the run, so that really wasn't an issue. So anyway, I started off the run feeling really, really, really good. I was like, oh man, stomach's not upset. I don't have sloshy stomach. I haven't fueled the last half hour on the bike, so everything's kind of digested. I mean, as much as possible. And I've been hydrating and salting and, just cruising along. and I decided to run. This was my method. I'm going to run for a while, and then as soon as I start feeling any fatigue whatsoever, then I'll walk. And I'll do the 4.5 minutes, 4.5 minutes run, 30 seconds walk. 4.5 minutes run, 30 seconds walk, and also walk the aid stations, right? So I'm jogging along, and I'm only like a mile or two into it. Let's say a mile and a half. And then somebody on a bicycle behind me goes, number 3 female coming through. Number 3 female coming through. And I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And I turn around and look, and I can't really make out who it is. But there's somebody with awesome shoulders, a chick, powering through down the trail. And it's kind of hard to make her out through the trees and stuff like that. So I asked the guy as he passed by on the bike, I go, is that Rachel Joyce? And he said, yep. And I was like, oh, cool. And then so as Rachel went by, I said, go Rachel Joyce. It's Brett from ZenTri, because we just had a conversation. And we're talking about meeting each other on the run. And she was so in the zone. She didn't look up, smile, or anything. And I just laughed to myself because it's like, that's what it takes. Like, these people are racing, and everybody's saying, go, Rachel. Hey, it's Billy from Billy.com or whatever. And it doesn't mean anything to them. They're so focused. But Rachel looked badass. And she was probably on lap 2, maybe, or maybe lap 3. I don't know. Interesting thing about Rachel, Angela won, but Rachel was trying out a different bike technique. So while Angela dominated the race, Rachel was trying out something different and new, and said that she thought she might have been faster if she didn't do it. She tried to keep an even pace on the bike and not react to what other people were doing on the bike. And after her post-race interview, I think she got third, was third or fourth. No, second? Oh, crap, I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks now. And she said that that really didn't work for her, that she probably would have gone faster back the other way. And Rachel didn't need to win the race, I think, to make it to Kona. So, because you would think, oh, well, Angela beat Rachel, so Angela, and its conditions exactly are worse than Kona. So so Angela would probably beat Rachel, but no, not exactly. Rachel wasn't racing the way that she usually races. So who knows, man? It's going to be so exciting at Kona. All right, I need to go into W to the ERK, so we will be back. Let me find the off button here. We'll be back in just a second. All right, I'm back. Okay, so I'm taking off on the run, and of course on the run, my Garmin decided to still not record any heart rate. So it's not showing me anything. But actually, I wasn't all that worried about it. I was feeling good, and I was actually running really, really easy. I wish I had the heart rate, but it didn't bother me too much because I was actually feeling really, really good. And I'm running along, and my first mile split comes back because my watch was auto splitting, and it was like a 10-minute mile, 10 and a half, something like that. And I was like, crap. And I was running at a pace that I was like, if I run any faster than this, that's dangerous. So I'm just going to run at this mellow pace, and whatever I get is what I get, because I'll save for running faster for later in the race. Like the last few miles, trying to kill it. Because if I do that now, I'm going to blow up. And so anyway, my whole point is, I was just running mellow, and I was happy. And what it takes to run long without cratering. And I've got lots of experience running 50-milers and stuff, and even 100-miler, you got to go a lot slower than you think you need to. And, there's a squirrel on the road. Squirrel moment, literally. Go, dude. Carry that nut. There you go. You got it. And, for a moment, pacing time-wise. So I was like, if I run like, 10-minute, a low 10, sub 10, Ironman is out the window at this point. As soon as I started the run, I was a couple miles into it. I was like, yeah, this ain't going to happen. But a sub 11, which would be a PR for me, was totally on the table. I'm like, man, I am hardly putting any effort into this run at all, and I might go sub 11. The time, if I kept doing what I was doing, I'd go sub 11. So I was super happy. I'm like, this race has got PR written all over it. I feel great. Stomach's happy. Everything is just great. And then after a while, there started to be a little bit of cloud cover coming in, and a little bit of a rain cloud started coming over the horizon, and that was just super epic. I was like, oh my god, man, if it starts raining, another guy like pointed it out. He goes, look at that, dude, look at that. And I was like, oh man, I hope it rains. It'll be so awesome because it'll cool it off. And actually, a side note, a few days, like 2 days after the race, a cold front freaking comes through. Oh, and also on the run, after the race, I went back and looked at the humidity and the heat, and this is without taking any consideration of the re-radiation of heat off the pavement. This is just air temperature at the whatever the weather station, which is out of the way, and humidity. So it was like 86. It was like 86 degrees, and I forgot what the humidity percentage off the top of my head. It was like 80% humidity or high 70% humidity. Anyways, the heat index was 106 degrees in this thing. It was absolutely freaking brutal. And then that rain cloud just kind of disappeared and went away. I was like, damn it. But anyway, so I'm running along, and I'm like, man, I might go sub 11, just cruising along, having a good old time. And I'm looking to see if I have my workout shorts in here. I guess I'll find out for sure in a minute. Because after I eat at Freebirds, I'm going to go lift some weights. And then I think it was around mile 9. I was like, oh no, my stomach is starting to feel sick, right? And I was like, this is not freaking... And it's a 3-loop course. So I was about halfway through the second loop. Not quite, but getting close. Through the second loop, and I was like, oh no. I'm like, how? How can my stomach get sick? I haven't even done anything. And it was fine at the start, which was a major success story. Having my stomach feel fine at the start of an Ironman, that's pretty rad. And I was just like, man, what in the world's going on? This sucks. My stomach's starting to hurt, for real? Are you being serious? And so I mixed in a little bit more walking and a little bit more walking, and still with mixing in more walking, I couldn't run without almost throwing up, and it was making me lightheaded. And these are actually really dangerous conditions. You're talking a heat index of 106, and you've already biked 112 miles, and now you're halfway through a marathon. And in a race situation, you can really push your body too far, and I had to be super aware of like not letting myself fall into that trap and get so ill that I needed medical attention. And so I was like, man, just be careful, just back off the pace. Whatever you get is whatever you get. The heat, it's the freaking heat, I guess. I don't know what was going on at the moment. And so I ended up freaking walking, even though I didn't want to. And then also my legs were fine. They were so fine, like I was like, oh my God, I could totally run, but if I run, I'm going to freaking throw up and puke and just become a freaking mess. I might pass out from the heat and get heat stroke, heat exhaustion. I was starting to get heat exhaustion. And then, what was the other thing? Then I got to the point where I couldn't walk fast without starting to throw up. And that's crazy, man. When you can't push the pace walking without almost throwing up, and these are real gentle hills, like nothing. It's basically flat. And I was like, man, it really, really scared me that I might have to drop out, DNF out of the race. I was strongly considering it. I was feeling so sick to my stomach. I was having to slow down to a slow walk, medium walk, and pushing the pace and just, without throwing up. And then when I was wrapping up the second lap, you kind of go, you can definitely hear it. You kind of go past the finish line, sort of. You can't see it or anything, but you can hear all the commotion and all the awesomeness going on. And the two thoughts that crossed my mind were, if you can keep walking, keep going. There's people that are going to take 17 hours to finish this thing. All you got to do is walk another lap, and you'll be all right. So if you can walk, keep going. And also, if you DNF, you don't get anything, right? You don't get any Ironman points. You don't get to say that you did another Ironman. You're out, and you don't get those all-world athlete points, all that crap that you spent all this money and time and training on. You don't get to say that you did another Ironman. And that guy at the beginning of the race, where they said, hey, there's this guy here that has done 120 something Ironmans. That guy, that moment, like really stuck out in my head. And it's, sometimes you're fast, and some people are more about consistency and volume, and that's their thing. Everybody's got a different thing of what they're good at. And I was like, man, maybe you're just really good. 11, 12, 13-hour Ironmans and just doing lots of them. Maybe that's your thing. And so I was just like, just keep going. And so the looping and seeing that, having that finish line nearby to remind me of the glory of actually finishing kept me going. So then I started out on loop number 3. Here we go.
So an Olympic
Hello.
distance
Oh, wait, stop.
triathlon is a
That's Vinny
1500
talking. Hold on.
meter.
All right, we're back. That was weird. I'm leaving the gym. Got a gym membership, working out at lunch. Just doing just a little bit, like half an hour of weights almost every day, just to break up the workday. And did calves, quads, and bench press with barbells instead of a bench bar, because it's a little bit harder. Trying to keep those things balanced. Works you over pretty good. All right, after going to Freebirds, getting a burrito. And we're going to try to wrap up this run. I was on the run, and Emily and Kai came out and saw me on the second loop and also on the third. But when I was feeling down, and struggling really hard, the other thing that really lifted my spirits was the look on Kai's face, man. He didn't care that I was walking or if I was crawling or anything. Just the whole scene of this insane environment, this race with these people acting like maniacs, the crowd. And it's just so crazy and so much fun that his eyes were so big. I go, "Are you having fun?" And he goes, "Yeah." I was like, yeah, it is pretty cool, isn't it? And that took the edge off a lot and was like, yeah, dude. I mean, in the eyes of a child, like this thing was insane and awesome and cool. And don't quit, man. Keep going and finish. And so that was good. And then also, if you don't power walk a lot, you'll end up getting blisters on the undersides of your feet when you do. And when you have to do it a lot and you haven't trained for it and your skin's not used to that kind of shifty motion. And that's another ultra running experience right there that is slightly painful. And oh my God, dude, I had blisters after my first 50 miler that were so bad all over the undersides of my feet. And so at the beginning of the third lap, I stopped into the med tent to put Vaseline. They said there was Vaseline in the medical tent right after the start of each lap. And it was funny at the edge of the tent, because it's right up next to the course. I stood on one side of it, this little barrier, and I go, okay, if I go in there, am I disqualified? Or do I DNF? And they go, no. And I go, you sure? And they go, yeah. And I go, okay. Because I know I don't want to get disqualified for getting medical help. You never know, like at a race. Always ask. And then, so I crossed over. I took off my shoes and socks real quick and put, they just had like a they had the big jars of Vaseline, and I just smeared the undersides of my feet with Vaseline, and they were starting to blister just barely, but they were getting really hot, and it was really, really painful, and it sucked. I was just like, oh my God, this is starting to hurt, and if I got to do another 9 miles or whatever with this, like this, I'm screwed. You do not want blisters all on the underside of your feet. You're going to walk like an idiot for like a week doing that, at least. I mean, it is bad, because I've done it. I've been that idiot. So I put stuff on Vaseline, lots of it, on the underside of my feet, and then kept going. And also halfway through the second lap, I remember I picked up my fuel bottle of fuel, but I never ended up using it anyway. And I had it powdered, and then I just added water as I was running, but I never ended up using it. And another thing that was interesting was the number of pros that dropped out was crazy. Jordan Rapp, I mean, like really, really top-end pros. Jordan Rapp and Raylert both dropped out. Just not having a good day. The heat is definitely a factor in that. I mean, that heat will just mess you up. And I was missing seeing Brandon Marsh out there. That would have been really cool. Seeing how he won the swim last year in like 46 minutes or something ridiculous like that. Also, and your special needs bag during this race are really easy to get. And let's see. I saw Heather Jackson on the last lap of the run. That was really cool. She was smiling and waving, and she didn't get top 3 or whatever, but I think she got like 7th or 9th or something like that. It was really cool seeing her. I'd never seen her in a race before. The day before the race, I saw Waddy Inc. riding around his bicycle and tweeted about it, which was funny, and in the parking lot of a grocery store. And that's one of the things that gets really cool about getting into the sport is once you start knowing who's who, they're everywhere during the race. And once you know who they are, it's pretty amazing. When you know that guy right there is the fastest guy ever to do an Ironman triathlon, that's pretty special, And he just Raylert just blended right in with everybody. He walked off away from his bike and just blended into everybody else the day before the race. And Base Salt they had their own aid station, and it was a big deal. They were handing out these little salt canisters. So they're like the size of a lipstick, like a chapstick thing, but the lid is a pop top, so you can't lose the lid. And you tilt it, you lick your thumb, tilt it upside down, then you get salt on your thumb, and then keep going. And they work great. So I grabbed 2 canisters and kept them because I'm going to put my own sea salt in them because I really can't see that much difference between base and sea salt. I'm sure there might be a small difference, but regardless, it's a really convenient way to get salt. And I finished the race. If you finish a race and then you crave salty foods like potato chips and pizza and salty, savory foods after the race, which has happened to me many times. I've finished races and eaten like 3 smaller bags of salty potato chips and Doritos, chicken broth because it's super salty. That's a sign that you didn't take in enough salt during the race. So what you do is as you're racing, you preemptively take salt, like half a teaspoon per hour of salt is usually a pretty good measure. And but then if you start craving salt during the race, on top of that, take a salt pill. And there's a company called Thermotabs, which is super cheap, and it's just salt in hard pills. And then put it in your mouth and chew it up. And this is kind of like the base salt stuff. You chew it up in your mouth and let your mouth just get hit with that awful, just super saturated with salt, because you actually absorb the salt supposedly through your tongue and mouth more than your guts. And if you do like 2 of those an hour or one, it kind of depends. Anytime you crave something salty, eat one of those, and that'll get rid of the craving, and that means you're back on track with your salty salty intake. And Christine Lynch, who's going to be on the show pretty soon, was saying it actually helps you digest your food better. It's an electrolyte that helps everything work better, and your fuel will not work unless you have salt in with it. And yeah, I think that's it. So by the last couple miles of the race, the sun was starting to kind of get behind the trees, and it had cooled off a bit, and I was actually able to start running again, which makes me think my issue is totally heat related. And I stopped feeling as sick to my stomach, and I started walking, and then running more and more and more. And like the last, let's say it's a little bit uphill, so I walked a little bit of a hill, but mostly the mile. But basically the last 2 miles I walked and ran more of it as I got to the finish line, and then crossed the finish line running and looking good. And I came in just under 13 hours. It's 12:54 maybe, something like that. And that was super cool. I absolutely loved it. It was good stuff. And Kai and Emily were waiting for me at the finish line, and I didn't throw up, which is always a plus. And I went over and got some pizza, but which was interesting is I wasn't really craving it. I got some pizza, and I'm trying to remember what else I got. Got Kai a water, and then we started walking back to the car, and I sat in the car for a little bit. Emily went and grabbed my bike, and then we went to the hotel. And when we got to the hotel, we were up on the second story, and I was joking with Kai that I'd race him to the hotel room, and he goes, okay. So we started running to the hotel room, and then I ran up a flight of stairs up to the second floor and was fine doing it, which gives me further ammo to the argument that my legs were fine. It was the heat and fuel, and that slowed me down. Because if your legs were trashed and you overbiked, and because I was like, when I was walking next to a guy for a while whose legs were just cramping. He's like, man, my legs are cramping up, and like my legs are trash. They hurt so bad. And I didn't really say anything to him about it, but I was like, yeah, you overbiked, dude. That's overbiking symptoms. Your legs are just smashed, and you can't use them. And I told him, I said, what's really frustrating for me is my legs are fine. My stomach is what's killing me, and that's a different kind of problem. Same limiting issue, just F's you up. And so anyway, by the time we got back to the hotel, my stomach had settled enough, and I ran up a flight of stairs, which would be really hard to do if your legs were trashed. And I did it, and I was just fine. And then for the few days after the race, I got constant comments from Emily and people at work and people that I know that it looked like I didn't do anything. I wasn't limping, my legs didn't hurt, and I was like, yeah, I'm really pissed off that they don't, because that means I didn't get to use my legs to the full extent that I trained them to do, and that was not my limiting factor. My limiting factor was my guts and the heat, which kind of sucked. So anyway, well, you can't do much about that at the moment, and we're working on that now, and we'll get more with that later. All right, I'll be right back. All right, we're back, and there was a couple of things on the run that I forgot to mention, and one was a guy on the other side of the canal started yelling at me. I think he was on the other side of the canal. I don't know. But this just shows how crazy the run was. Well, there was a few people that were like, oh man, where's that sub 10, dude? Like, are you a ZenTri guy? Come on. You're not going to do that sub 10, huh? Like that. I was like, yeah, I know, dude. It sucks. And I just kind of laugh it off, because just going as fast as you can, man. And still, it's pretty awesome out there doing an Ironman. And then this one guy yells at me. He goes, hey, ZenTri, Brett. I'm doing the arm cooler ice water trick. Man, it's the best. And I was like, what? And he was doing the thing that I always talk about. You run with a water bottle. You train running with a water bottle, and then you train dribbling the water over your head while you're running and dribbling ice water. You get ice at the aid stations, put it in the water bottle, and drink on it. drink it, and then also pour it, dribble it over your head while you're running, and it cools you down significantly. It is awesome. And I think next race I'm going to work on drinking ice, eating ice, to more than what I was doing. I was doing a little bit, but even more to make sure that I'm getting plenty in. And maybe that'll cool me down even more than what I was doing, because what I was doing wasn't enough. But is it physically possible to do enough? I don't know. And then in those conditions, and the other thing that happened was I was run walking, and a young guy that was in his early 20s named Steve started talking to me, and he said, "Hey man, I'm a fan of the show." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And we were talking. And then his dad was riding alongside of us in the subdivision on a bicycle, and not pacing, just kind of hanging out, because there was no point in pacing because we were both kind of run walking a little bit. And at some point, he started going a little bit faster than me. He was feeling better and started going a little bit faster. I almost caught him towards the end, though. I thought I was going to catch him. And then, but he said, "All right, well, I'm going to keep on running." And I go, "Hey, do you want to get our picture together?" And he said, "Yeah, man." And so his dad pulled out his camera phone, and I said, "Tweet me the picture," which he did. I need to find it somewhere. And I'll have then we can use it for the show. And I want to see the picture. And it's a picture of us pretending like we're running together. I think I've already retweeted it. It was pretty funny. And his dad's like, "I don't know what is Twitter," or something like that. And Steve just kind of rolled his eyes. He goes, "Oh, my dad doesn't know how to use the internet and all that." And I said, "Oh, it's just it's a way to talk to other people that are kind of into the same stuff that you are, and you can talk to them about it." And his dad gave the classic answer that I slowly find myself turning into as I get older, because his dad looked like he was about 50-something. And his dad goes, "I'm not into things, and I don't want to talk to people about it." I was like, yeah. There's this thing, it's also like why older people find it hard if they get back into the dating scene to find anybody, because they don't have any tolerance for anybody else's stuff. You know, over their life, they've kind of figured out what they're into and what they're not into, and it's such a narrow focus, it's almost impossible to find anybody else that's into the exact same thing that you are. All right, so that was the end of the race. Went back to the hotel room. We did order a pizza, but I didn't eat that. I don't know. I ate some of it. I was fine. I was happy. I was not craving salt like crazy. I wasn't a mess. I was actually just fine. Walked around and all kinds of stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. And then the next day, we were in separate cars. Kaya had to get to a birthday party back in College Station before I did. And so Emily took her car back, and then I took longer and packed up all my stuff, and then drove back to College Station. It was like an hour or something drive, which was nice. And then went to work, and on Monday, because Sunday nothing, and then Monday went back to work, and it was kind of funny because hardly anyone knew that I did an Ironman. It was pretty neat. Stealth man, so maybe what we ought to call it. But then let's see, where did I leave off with that? So my goal after this race was to do something interesting, and because I've been doing a little bit too much and it's stressful, and I'm looking for ways to reduce stress, especially with the vitiligo stuff. It's stress related, and actually my vitiligo seems to be getting a little bit better. It's kind of hard to tell by reducing stress. And I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to zero out. It's called zeroing out. And then only adding in stuff that's intentional and with purpose, and only keeping things as I add it in that doesn't seem. I'm only adding it in because I really want it, and then as I add it in a way that doesn't create stress, and if it does create stress, then lose it again, and only add it in a way that I either like or just don't add it in at all, right? And totally going by the way I feel instead of what I should do. And there's actually a good podcast out there called the Slow Home Podcast, or Slow Your Home. I think it's Slow Home Podcast. And I love it. It's so good. And it's all about intentional living and only slowing everything down to only what's important, and being okay with that. And it's really, really nice. And it's a side effect of all this craziness and modern living of our with all. Basically, in modern society, we're able to make and have and experience. So that's all, a whole bunch of physical and emotional overload. And because this is all new, it actually causes a problem. You know, if this was a couple hundred years ago, you'd have to go really out of your way to experience something dramatic on purpose. And in modern society, you can meet somebody on the internet and then go skydiving and then eat Chinese food and then go to the rifle range and then watch a movie about aliens exploding the earth all in one day. I mean, it's a lot. And you can get this all the time that's happening. You're getting 50 emails that day about all kinds of products that you need to buy, and you're being slammed in your face with advertisements for more kinds of stuff that you would buy. Now compare that to living in a log cabin out on the prairie, a little house on the prairie kind of scenario, where the only input's pretty much nature, and it's nice, slower, much slower. So all this modern stuff has hit us so fast. It's kind of like overeating, where we're designed to try to get in as many calories as we can, and it's hard to resist that, because it used to be that food was a lot harder to come by, and now food is so easy to come by that it'll kill you, because you're hardwired to try to eat as much as you can. And with all the advertising to kind of try to trick you into eating as much as you can is bad as well. So you have to actually, you can evolve yourself out of this, and it'll be the smart people that know that this is something to work on that will survive this new world. For example, step one is to change your mindset and realize that food is a commodity. It is junk. It doesn't cost anything for people to make food nowadays. And so you shouldn't feel guilty about throwing or not consuming everything that's on your plate. You're like, oh, this poor food, we're throwing it away. Well, maybe they shouldn't have made it in the first place. It's just too much food. And you shouldn't feel guilty because somebody else just made a whole ton of food and just put it on your plate. That's their problem that they did that. And until you fight back and quit eating it all, then maybe until you do that, they're going to keep doing it. Okay, so that's enough of a rant. So in my life right now, and you might want to consider this too, you zero out. You go back to doing nothing. And you know what? After an Ironman is a really great time to do it, because you're tired of doing too much anyway. So you zero out, put nothing on your calendar at all for a while. And then after a while go, okay, I'm going to add back in, I don't know, maybe jogging or something like that. Whatever thing you want to work on the most. Or I haven't washed my car since I got it 2 years ago. Emily washed it once or twice, but I haven't washed it. And so I'm like, you know what? I need to add in the minimal house care stuff that I've been failing to do, because I have I call it triathlete yard syndrome. Maybe there's triathlete house syndrome, where you're going out for 5-hour bike rides, but your house looks like crap because you're not taking care of it, because you're going out for 5-hour bike rides. And then if you're a parent, like kids stuff, and slowly adding that kind of stuff in, like taking your kids to practice, and adding that all back in, adding in all the appropriate stuff that's required first, and then getting that leveled out over a period of a couple of weeks so that it's not stressful. And all you're doing is monitoring stress and sleep. In Training Peaks, you can monitor stress, sleep. You can You can enter all that, and then it'll graph it for you if you want. And not committing and not doing anything more that causes any kind of stress. It's the first question you ask yourself. Saying no to all kinds of stuff and just doing it. You know what? I just did an Ironman, or I just did a marathon, or whatever you did, and I'm not going to do anything for a while. And your health and fitness isn't going to go anywhere over a couple of weeks. So it's been nice. After quite a few days, I was like, man, you know what? I really need to be lifting weights. Because in my situation, I work at a desk, and I have this hour lunch, and there's a gym really close nearby. Going for a run at lunch is a little bit too much. Going for a bike ride at lunch is a little bit too much work. It takes up too much time. But you know what doesn't take up too much time? Is walking into a gym and lifting weights for like half an hour, and then swinging by Freebird's World Burrito and picking up a burrito, and then going back to my desk and eating lunch. Because I feel like working 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day with no physical activity in the middle. Well, putting some physical activity in the middle is perfect, and kind of breaks up the day and makes you feel better. Probably helps your metabolism a lot to have a little kick going on in the middle of the day. Let's see if this guy backs into me. And it's nice. It's really, really nice. So I added in that, and then after a while, I couldn't stand not working out besides that. So I kind of started working out, but only working out to the point of where it was like no stress and just feels nice and is no big deal. And there was other things. Oh, and start cutting out caffeine because, or cutting back. I don't think, there's all these studies that have come out, caffeine's actually good for you, or coffee, is actually good for you. If you get older, it keeps your magical parts downstairs working better. And people that drink like 3-4 cups a day have better artery health and like all this other stuff. So it's like, I don't want to cut it out entirely, but I don't want to be surviving on it. So let's cut back the activity so that I don't need coffee just to get by. Like I can get by without coffee, with it or without it, my energy levels, and then I'm fine. And so I've been doing that. And let me see if I have something else that I have on my list that I've been cutting back. And coaching. I worked on setting up my coaching habits to be way more sustainable, and getting everybody coached out like a week or two ahead of time, and not trying to play catch up all the time. Like, what's a schedule where that actually works? And set that up first, and filling Hornet juice orders, setting that up so that there's a habit and a pattern where that happens reliably, consistently every day at a certain time. And then I'm looking at my notes real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. And then making sure that like I get all that stuff settled out first before I add in any kind of fitness training or anything like that. So yeah. Okay, I have more notes here in just a second. Let's go ahead and pause, and I'll be right back. All right, let's try to go ahead and wrap up the entirety of the show. This is dragging out forever. It seems like I'm in my car, just sitting in the driveway with the windows down. You can hear the birds maybe. And Kai and I went mountain biking today. Well, I trail run and he mountain bikes. Actually, I started off the day by going swimming in the neighborhood pool, but then took Kai with me out to the mountain bike trails, and it ended up being a whole lot muddier than I was hoping it would be. It wasn't terrible, but after a while it starts to wear on a kid. And then I slipped and fell down and landed right on the healing scab that's the size of like a silver dollar or bigger on the outside of my left knee, and hit it hard. And not only did it freaking hurt, it also ripped the scab off, and I started bleeding all over the place. I took a picture and, of course, posted it on the internet, on Instagram, on Twitter, ZenTriathlon on Twitter. And, oh my God, it still hurts right now, and that was like 7 hours ago. I mean, it hurt. Oh my gosh. Anyway, somebody wanted me to talk about it on the training log, so there you go. All right, let's see. I have a few things to to cover. Let's see. There's some things after the race that I've been getting into. I've already talked about some of them. I got a few tricks for you. A tech trick is if you go to YouTube and type in traditional Japanese flute music or bamboo flute, but make sure you do traditional, and then Japanese and Chinese is really nice too. There's like 2-3 hour long music compositions of really relaxing Asian, just wonderful music. I like the bamboo flute kind of stuff. And it's something that it'll stream, and actually on your phone, on my phone at least, if I close the screen, it stops. But if I hit the headphones to play again, then it'll start playing again. And so you could do a long while of just listening to really relaxing music. And let's see, I joined the gym and been getting in weightlifting. And it's just so nice because it's so much results for such little amount of time compared to like going out for a freaking 3-hour bike ride or something like that. And I replaced my phone. My phone was starting to crap out. There was just so much stuff that was backing up. Need to work on my mountain bike and get that set back up again. And I also went to the neighborhood pool and coached somebody on how to swim. He was crossing over, and when you cross over, then you tend to kind of karate chop out and forward with your hands, and that creates a lot of drag. And so what was really cool was with his own phone, I videoed him. Oh, it was a GoPro camera, but anyway, with an app. So I videoed him swimming, so he had it using his own device, and showed him what he was doing. He was like, "Holy cow!" And I'm like, "Yeah." You're doing some crazy stuff there. And but it was cool to show him that his feet were doing pretty good. For example, a test is hold your hands by your side and float face down and kick gently, and watch which way you go. This guy actually started going backwards, and that's because your feet aren't pointed back far enough. And if you go backwards when you kick, well, that's not helping you swim faster, and it's not helping you keep your feet up either. So there's little tests like that. But that was a good time helping somebody out. And so video yourself and have an expert look at it. There's lots of websites where you can send people video footage. And then I found an amazing podcast, the Tim Ferriss podcast, which I've kind of gotten over all the hacking, body hacking, biohacking, lifestyle hacking. It's good up to a point, but you can become kind of addicted to trying to find the shortest way and get all into it. But I think you kind of go through that phase once you realize that there are way better ways of doing stuff than what you think. The mailman's delivering mail right behind me. And so it's good to a point, but also, hacking too much stuff can get to be kind of silly. But so the Tim Ferriss show is pretty good for the guests that he interviews. But he interviews Rick Rubin, who was the music producer for Beastie Boys, Rolling Stones. I don't know if he did Led Zeppelin. Nah, Led Zeppelin's too old. Well, unless Led Zeppelin remastered something. Run DMC, LL Cool J. Probably Taylor Swift. I mean, who knows? Like, he does everything, and he is so zenned out. It is insane. The guy's been meditating since he was 14 years old. He does aquatic sports stuff like paddle boarding and lifting weights underwater. He learned that from Laird Hamilton, so he hangs out with Laird. And it was really cool. Some insights that you hear in the interview is when Tim asks him, how is he a different music producer than other music producers? He pauses and he says, I don't know. All I know is what I do. I couldn't know what other music producers do. And it's such a hit to the head. You're just like, whoa, holy crap, that's right. Because to really know what other people do, you'd have to be comparing all the time. And he just does what he does. And what he does, he said, actually, is he kind of removes blocks that are keeping people from being the best artists and making the best recordings that they possibly can. And that's such good advice for everything you do in life, including triathlon, work, raising kids, is when people say be authentic, basically you have to quit worrying about everybody else and do what actually gets you results for your best results and the people that you love and care about around you. Be an enabler. That's what I am. I'm totally an enabler. Somebody says, I'm going to ride 50 miles on a tricycle. And I'm like, you could do that. Go do it. I'll help you. It'll be so awesome. They're like, really? I'm like, yes, dude. It'll be awesome. Let's remove some blocks and get you going. Like we're doing an Ultraman this fall in October. And the whole point is to remove, I believe lots of people could do it. And we're going to set it up so that I can do it. And if you want to join me, you can too. And the main thing is removing all the blocks, keeping you from getting it done, right? Which roads are unsafe? Where do you put the bathrooms? How do you make the run course so that you don't need tons of support, and the bike course too? What time of year? Removing blocks so that it can happen, right? And we're going to get to Tao Te Ching in a second because that's really cool. And I talked to, so anyways, check out the Tim Ferriss interview with the show where he interviews Rick Rubin. It'll blow your mind. It is so good. There was, on the Slow Home podcast, I think I've already talked about that. That's really nice. Trying to cut back on coffee some, and then ending. I was listening to something that was really cool. And one really interesting aspect of taking the time to stop negative thinking. So there's a saying that negative thinking or worrying is kind of like negative. It's like negative prayer. You're kind of wishing for something bad to happen because you're thinking about it all the time. Or let's say that also you're angry at somebody or you're mad that somebody cut you off in traffic, right? So if you take the time to sit down and, I wouldn't say meditate, but just allow yourself to stop thinking and not just allow yourself, purposefully tell yourself to stop thinking about that negative thing so that you can let it go. You're because there's people would say, well, all this, taking time to slow down and sit down and think about stuff is kind of selfish because you're you don't want to take time to do it because you got other stuff to do. But no, everybody knows that negative thoughts lead to more negative thoughts, right? Somebody yells at you and now you're mad. Now you go do something mean to somebody else at work or at home because you're angry. And you just propagate negative energy and negative mindset. And what if everybody was happy all the time? What kind of world would that be? But you got to put an end to the chain of negativity that happens when something bad happens. It's your choice. They teach us a lot in Zen. It's the second arrow that's your choice. If you get hit with an arrow, you can stop the pain right there and go, oh, I got hit with an arrow. That sucks. Well, I'm going to keep doing my own thing. An arrow is a figurative thing. And then, not literal, but it's somebody that doesn't have control of themselves will turn around and fire a second arrow out into the world back at somebody else. They'll act poorly and then justify it because something happened to them. A lot of times they don't even know they're doing it. And if you purposefully take the time to slow down and stop a negative thought and let it go and put it to rest and bury it and put a gravestone on it and put flowers on it and say, I'm done with this. That was interesting. Now I'm done with it. I'm going to move on. And then now go out for a nice jog or have fun with your family instead of dwelling on it all afternoon or evening and all overnight and ruining your next day and your next day and your next day, right? With guilt and worry. Then you're actually doing the world a favor because now the world has a happy you instead of a negative you. So it is worth the time to stop, pause, think about the negative things that are bothering you and categorically and individually decide to end them, and worry about them one last time, and then if it's not useful, just bury it. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's see. The last thing I have is the Tao Te Ching. Should we do donations and interviews first? Let's make sure we don't have any more sponsors and mentions. I should mention Hornet Juice. We've done Amaretto bars, but Hornet Juice is such a huge sponsor of the show. So cool. So let's talk about Hornet Juice for a second. On my long trail run I did with Kai on his mountain bike today, loaded up with some Hornet Juice before I took off, and felt so good. Hornet Juice is awesome stuff. It's amino acid powder, and you add it to like 8 to 10 ounces of water. Drink it before your workout, and then every hour and a half during if you want. And it's the amino acids actually signal your body to start burning body fat for more fuel instead of needing a whole bunch of sugary stuff, which we've talked a lot about trying to do less of. And it works, and it's amazing. It's actually really, really cool. And it's based on Japanese killer hornet saliva. No joke. And it comes from New Zealand. It's really cool. And when you order it, you actually get an email from me. So now you have my email address, and you can email me questions. And also, if you want to donate to the show, you can email me questions, and I'll tell you how in a second. But yeah, Hornet Juice is super, super cool. It's super convenient. It's really effective. It's fun. It's neat. It's interesting. It's something different that most of your friends will be like, what the heck is that? And it works. I'll never forget the first time I ever used it on a long ride, like a 70-mile ride or something like that. I needed way less fuel and finished feeling awesome. It was really incredible. So you can get Hornet Juice on the right side of the page on ZenTriathlon.com. And on the emails I get back from people that are like, holy crap, this stuff really works. This is no joke. They're really cool. And the go to ZenTriathlon.com, and you can order like a 8-pack. Is it 8 or 10? 10, 20, 30, 60, whatever you want. People order a small serving first, a small order first, and then they almost always come back with just way more because they're like, oh, wow. Because if you buy a bigger pack of it, then the price goes down relative to the overall. So let's see. We have that. On the left side of the show, you can donate to the show. You can do a one-time donation or do a recurring donation. If you found stuff in this podcast useful to you and you want to give back to ZenTri and help keep the show on the air, it's super, super easy. You go to the left side, set up a PayPal donation, one time or recurring. Recurring's only, it's less than $4 a month, so it's like $1 an episode. It's really, really cool, and it helps us a lot. I should also mention, go to the Real Starkey TRS Triathlon forums. I'm on there a bunch lately. We're doing some talking about setting up my own little area in there and using their forums as my forums, and we can do a thread on each show. There's a big diesel truck firing up behind me. Everybody in Texas thinks they got to have a giant diesel monster truck. Makes them happy. And let's see. I think that's it. Let's talk about the Tao Te Ching. Is, I think, the way you say it. In fact, there is it's spelled Tao Te Ching. TaoTeching, and let me pull up the author's name because it's in Chinese and it was written around 600 AD by Lao Tzu, Laotzu, I think, and it is just phenomenal. He was one of Confucius. They think he was one of Confucius's students. And so it was a really refined message, and he wrote this not going around preaching it. Somebody else asked him to write it as he was leaving a town to go live in the countryside because they knew he was a master of philosophy and thinking, and they said, hey, can you write down your what you know? And he wrote it down in a series of poems. It's like 88 or 82 poems that, like 1 page each or something like that. And each one covers a different aspect of thinking and living and governing your life, governing your country, eating, activity, athleticism, just everything, economics. It's amazing. And of course, written in Chinese. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably can't read Chinese. There are a few people out there who can, that listen to this show. But the best translation available in the Western world seems to be one written in 1988 or 89 by Stephen Mitchell. And he does a little bit of a foreword in it to kind of explain the whole thing. And that's really, really handy. And also on audible.com, there is there's the Tao Te Ching by him, Stephen Mitchell's version, and it's really, really cool to listen to because you get the tone of, it's really well written. There's a jarring ad at the end of it, which you're kind of like, oh my God, everybody complains about it. But aside from that, it's actually fantastic. And he, we're going to cover this over a few shows, but what I'd like to cover first is the intro and kind of like the mindset and how it relates to slowing down and living and triathlon and how that all works. So the Tao Te Ching translates to the way, and it's supposed to be a view into how the world works, like an instructional guide on how the world works that's bigger than God, bigger than religion, bigger than anything. It was here at the beginning of the universe. It's how the universe was formed, how everything works. And the crazy thing is so much of it is the opposite of what you would think. And it's the phrase is doing, not doing. So do you notice that sometimes the more you try at something, the worse it actually becomes? Is the best way to describe it. And it's I always think of the George Costanza character in Seinfeld, where he decided that he was going to do the opposite. His life has just been kind of a mess so far, so he's decided he's going to do everything the opposite of the way he had been doing it. And all of a sudden he starts getting all these great results. Attractive women that he couldn't get dates with before are saying yes. He's getting great jobs. He's making a ton of money, all by doing the opposite. And also I think about when you trying to get out of something, you end up talking too much about it, and it becomes obvious when somebody did something wrong. They're fidgety and they're very suspicious acting because they're doing a lot that somebody that didn't do it wouldn't be doing. So it's doing, not doing, and then it sounds like you're not doing much, but actually it's the opposite. It's doing so well, or getting so into that Zen state kind of thing, that flow state. The thing that you are doing, that you're not doing any extra, and that's the whole point. So they use the example of an athlete that has trained themselves, just like you can, to doing stuff looks smooth and efficient, and there's no extra movement. So they're doing, not doing, right? So the thing that they're doing, they're so into it, there's no superfluous, I think is the word, activity going on. And so like if you're just washing dishes, you just wash dishes. If you just ride your bike, right? And you think of somebody that's not good at something yet, like say walking a tightrope, right? Somebody that's really good at walking a tightrope, it looks so smooth, right? And somebody that's new to it, what are they doing? They're wiggling and wobbling all over the place, and it's ridiculous. You're kind of like, man, if you would just quit doing that. But they don't know, so they're doing a whole lot of extra, right? And it's wasteful of calories and energy, and tires you out. I remember when I first learned to ride a motorcycle, I was so sore after every ride for like quite a few days, and I was gripping the handlebars so tight, way more tighter than I needed to, and it actually made me really sore in my chest and my shoulders and hands and arms. And the over time, after I got used to riding a motorcycle, I learned to relax and let the front wheel kind of do it. You know, you don't need the heel, you don't need the center of the bike. The bike centers itself, right? And with swimming, the karate chop sideways, the dropping and spreading of the legs to keep your balance creates all kinds of drag, and kicking extra hard creates all kinds of extra drag and burns calories that you don't need to do, right? People that are drowning, did you know if you just hold your breath and float and don't move your body at all, if you take a big breath of air, you'll float. You don't even need to swim. You don't even need to move your arms. You just need to take a big breath and hold. And then every once in a while, do just like every 20 seconds, do just a gentle pull and pull your mouth above the water and exhale and then inhale and take a big breath. And then you're floating again. That's what it takes to swim. It takes like 5 calories an hour to float, really. You're not really going anywhere. But people drown by clawing at the water and sinking because they exhaust themselves. And when you ride your bike or run, the more relaxed you keep your upper body, the more your lower body has the energy and has the focus to do the thing that it's supposed to. You don't pedal your bike with your arms. You kind of steer your bike, sorta, but only when you go off course, right? And you don't run on your arms. You counterbalance your upper body against your lower body with the help of your arms a little bit. But the more you do not doing, the better you get at stuff. And this goes along with the whole after Ironman, kind of zeroing out and practicing not doing anything, and then only adding in back the stuff that you actually need to add in, and doing that well, right? Only the necessary, and doing it well, and making sure that you're not doing any superfluous crap that's wearing you out, and adding stuff into your schedule and your life and your day that's wearing you out. So we'll talk about more about this as we go on with some more episodes, some more concepts that are just really, really good. And you can go check it out on audible.com or go get the book. The book is available everywhere. I mean, it was written, 1,600 years ago or something. So, yeah, there's no copyright on it. It's been around for a while. It's free material. It's really good. Okay, let's... if you go read it, then you'll be able to know more about when we talk about it on future shows and put it to work. Okay, let's talk about some donations and wrap it up. We got a donation from Priscilla, and she writes in, "Thank you, Brett. I'm a 3-year listener. Love the podcast. Listening to your podcast gave me the confidence of knowing what to expect when I started racing triathlons, and now I am hooked." Oh, cool. Thank you. Without your insight and the information you provide, it would have been a much steeper learning curve and a more nerve-wracking experience. All the best to you and your family, Priscilla. Well, thank you, Priscilla. That's really nice. Yeah, that's what I try to do, and to get more of us out there by, like what we were just talking about with triathlon, explaining what actually really happens so that when you go into it, there's only that, and everything else you add is extra and not necessary. If you're worrying about stuff or you think this is going to happen, don't worry about it. I remember my first ever triathlon in the transition area. I took like 5 minutes because I put on a bandana and I had a giant GPS, handheld GPS that I attached to my bike. And I changed all my clothes into my biking clothes from the swim. And then when I was done with the bike, I did the same thing to get back out on the run. And oh my God, it was ridiculous. It's all extra. You don't need it. So, yeah. All right. Simon Wright, longtime donor. Thank you. Andre S. in Germany. I won't play any German music with this. Let's see. Hi, Brett. Thanks for making these great shows. It really is helping out, learning something new about my sport every day. Just finished your Roth Drama podcast, having done it 2 times in a row. Hey, yeah, cool. I must say it is worth the trip, but hard to come by tickets. Smiley face. If you really want to go, maybe I can set something up And thanks for recommending Hornet Juice. It's amazing! Exclamation point. Greetings from Germany, Andre. Thanks, Andre. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool to go to the... is Germany the fatherland, or is it the motherland? I think it's the fatherland, isn't it? The Von Blancs, the Blankners. The Von Blancs are German. I talked about that on the podcast a while back. John Taylor gave a donation. M. Webb, donor. William Beck. Hun Chu. Thank you, Hun Chu. And Hun Chu is living in... well, he trains some in Singapore, and it's really cool talking with him and working with him on stuff. He's pretty cool. And Richard Stewart and Grant Beauchert and Michael K. And this is for providing an awesome podcast. Oh, he sent a donation. It's long overdue for Austin 70.3, Galveston 70.3 2014 and 2015, and for you providing everything needed to finish my first Ironman in Texas over the weekend. I am the guy who used your ice water bottle trick on the run course and yelled at you. Smiley face. Exclamation point. Thanks for all you do! Exclamation point. Shout out to my KMF Performance Tri Club and USAT National Coach of the Year, Ben Drizek. Drezek! Exclamation point. Cool. Thank you, Michael. That was so funny. You yelling at me out there on the race course. I'll never forget it. That was one of the highlights of me racing. Hey, dude! Dude! Okay, Emily called on the phone, and then I told her I was recording, so we'll see what happens to this recording. God, I hope it works. And let's see, where we leave off. Connor Sanders, Jonathan Woodman, James Godak, Jason Drury. We got a lot of donations because it's been about 2 weeks since I put out a show. Todd Nelson, Brian Kemper, Todd Endicott, Matthew Heinz. Hey, what's up, dude? And Dan Machia, Jessica Woodruff, Carrie/Jeff Honing, Matthew Froese, Allison Frutos, and Alexander Bromage. All right, I think that's it. Next episode, we need to talk about ceramic speed bearings, which I've got my hands on some now, and they are super, super cool and make my bike run awesome. And also Christine Lynch might be on the next episode. Stay tuned with me and Tawny on the ZenTri stuff on her podcast. And I think what we're doing now is, as I add stuff in purposefully, we're going to start ramping up training very, very gradually. And there's a whole lot of stuff going on this summer. I'm going to San Diego for a little bit. Probably see Tawny up there. And I'm going to start training for Ultra Baby. So we're doing an Ultraman in fall, but only adding in stuff gradually as it's needed. Tawny and I are going to talk about HRV, heart rate variability, being careful. Also, the time trial thing. I'm going to be doing time trials probably over the summer. I hope so. Once a week, hopefully, kind of depending on weather and schedule. And use those to increase my threshold, my FTP. And I think that's about it. So we'll save more for the next episode. Lots of cool stuff happening. Lots and lots of cool stuff. And more Tao Te Ching. And that's it. All right, everybody stay safe out there. Work the uphills, cruise the downhills, and keep the rubber side down. Out.